Hello again, friends! And you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here on this fine spring day. It's a day that belongs to spring, and of course, it belongs to you and I. It's on a good day like this where you can enjoy the silence. Of course, that's when your tinnitus really acts up. Is someone running a sink upstairs? I'm your host, the great Brian Last. We are about to talk about a disaster of a wrestling show, so why not start with the disaster of our own wrestling show? Here's the star of this show, here on this WrestleMania Hangover edition, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Well, at least you got that right, Brian. I'm the star of the show. You know, my tinnitus, when the water is running, like the shower is running, I hear the phone ringing. I don't know what's going on with you over there, but Spring's Day, by the way, nice. Insert the apostrophe. If you have a small stroke and slur in the middle of your goddamn sentence, now you got me laughing so hard my left arm is hurting. I might have a fucking coronary here on the program.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, I know, and hopefully we'll be finished by the time it happens. But anyway, nevertheless, this is the WrestleMania Hangover edition, but no rest for the weary, because immediately people start doing insane things, either in terms of selling 200,000 tickets in the same city over the weekend, or conversely, shitting in your own bed and then falling back in it, as Mama Cornette would say.
Did she really say that?
Well, basically,
shitting in your own bed and falling back into it?
Well, no, she actually, on many occasions, said, well, he shit and fell back in it, didn't he? That's an old expression down in the country when somebody has failed at a task that they were trying to do that they were probably overmatched with to begin with. He shit and fell back in it.
But you added the bed. You added the bed into the whole story.
Well,
here.
Because I was just immersed in the emotion of the thing. Why the fuck are you going to pick apart every goddamn... Listen to the fucking open you did. There, goddamn... You monologue artist.
Oh, by the time that's edited, I'm going to sound so smooth. I'm going to sound so silky smooth.
For a written transcript of exactly how badly Brian Last bungled that intro, Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. They'll be on sale shortly. But nevertheless, point is, we've had some highs and lows here today, or here this week, and now we're going to talk about them today. And I was going to bring this up at the start until you sidetracked me over there. But, Brian, we've talked about how over the years, and I think everybody could agree that this is a fact. I'm not making a controversial statement here. I have been in literally thousands of production meetings and creative meetings and booking meetings, as we used to call them, and meetings where people pitched ideas, right? Over the years, just the hundreds and hundreds of TV tapings and pay-per-views and fucking blah, 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 and thousands of hours, blah. And I will admit that besides, obviously, there's always the crazy idea pitched out there by the pitcher that everybody doesn't bother to swing at all and just goes on about their business, right? But of a serious pitch that someone else besides the pitcher actually got on board with and said, there's something to this. Let's debate this idea, right? Of any serious pitch, everybody, even Shitstain, when he pitched the Brawl for All, it sounded to his audience of one Vince McMahon, it sounded like there was something to it because he appealed to, he and the other Vince shared the adolescent masculinity issues or whatever, because he said, yeah, we're going to find out, bro, which one of these guys is really tough, or however the fuck he talks. Well, I can't
Not
do
like
it.
that.
Well, and so there's always something you could say that, okay, that idea that more than one person, maybe a few people, maybe several people got on board with and thought something of. It sounded good when they pitched it, but it didn't translate in the execution by one or more of the parties, or it was done by the wrong people entirely, or in the wrong place, or with the wrong psychology. There's something, some way you could say several people this passed through their hands, and all of them found enough of a positive in it to attempt it. Right? You see what I'm saying? In this case, how the fuck did anyone other than the little pitchers with big ears, as Mama Cornette used to say, think that this was in any way a good idea and got other people, including the owner of the fucking company, who now looks like Tony Clown. He might as well change his name on his birth certificate to go along with this. I'm astonished. There's always some element of you can look back on something and say, well, I see what they were trying to do, but boy, that sucked. Or some element of reason. But I've never seen it like television promotional suicide where, they died by their own hands. And there's no way that you can look back on the presentation now and go, well, if they'd have just done it better, what was there to do? What was there to do?
It's one of the most amazing misfires ever. Because like you said, as soon as you heard they're going to do it, there were two camps. You either groaned and went, oh, really? That doesn't make much sense. Or you said, yeah, this'll show them. He isn't tough. Jack Perry got away quick.
with people prying on him.
So, as soon as they announced it, the story became, why are they going to do this? What are they going to gain from it? And the more you thought about it, unless it showed like Punk running away in pigtails, there was nothing that was going to hurt Punk in this. And it hurt them. It hurt the company in every single way. And if Tony Khan has anyone he's talking to who didn't tell him in advance, this is a really, really bad idea, you shouldn't do this, then we have a problem. And it's a bigger problem if Tony Khan is hearing that from people and pushing that to the side to do this kind of thing. Beyond this, and we're going to get to it all very, very shortly. We're going to go right into it very shortly.
Yeah.
It was an all-time disaster of a Dynamite.
Well, what we've done also, though, is we've AEW'd the people. We've Tony Khan the people. For the people who don't know what we're talking about, they don't know what we're fucking talking about. And we've done about as good a job explaining it as they did the other night. So we will, we will back up now for after we've had our frivolity, because goddamn, would something like the self-inflicted wounds in the nuts with the Don LaPrey and his tiny little cuts.
Well, let's talk about what we're talking about, Jim. Well, what we're talking about, Jim, of course, is AEW's decision to air the surveillance footage from Wembley Stadium, backstage, all in, of CM Punk confronting Jack Perry after Jack Perry's match before CM Punk's match, which was the start of the pay-per-view event. This footage is something that we heard was out there in September. We talked about it. The clip is out there. You should go check that out. But we hear about all this, and this is coming off a period of time where AEW, you said it, self-inflicted wounds. Don LaPrey, self-inflicted wounds that are growing. You can't figure out why. Let's remind everyone, this is the second week in a row they've donated time on their show to CM Punk. CM Punk was in the top angle on both wrestling promotion shows this week. And we should probably take a step back and talk a little bit about the path to get here. So Punk does the Ariel Helwani interview. AEW Dynamite then begins with Adam Copeland giving, in a sense, an impassioned promo. I don't know if you could believe him. I mean, it seemed like he was trying to convince himself.
It was, I think, impassioned with desperation promo. Some of the desperation was sprinkled on heavily.
So again, that was there. Really probably not something for the national TV audience, and it really didn't accomplish much good, it didn't seem. Then Dax Harwood, after the show goes off the air, same thing. a promo about how much he loves being able to wrestle here. Then Rampage. Let's quickly talk about this Friday night. We usually don't talk about this.
And we're not the only ones that don't talk about that show, but
it's part of a pattern here. Rampage Friday night, 10 to 11 p.m. That's their normal time slot, I believe, on TNT.
Right.
267,000 viewers.
Ouch!
The lowest number, non-preemption in the show's history, as well as the lowest key demo number. And I don't see it here. 100,000.
You can't see a number that small.
It's the lowest key demo number in the show's history. So that's Friday night. Again, WrestleMania weekend, SmackDown and the Hall of Fame were on. So this is, I guess, directly against the Hall of Fame. And, a rerun of Bill Maher and some baseball games. It's a lot happening. 267,000 viewers. That's the start of the weekend. Now, Collision was preempted this week because of all the basketball. But AEW Collision, a preemption or a preempted airing.
No, well, now back up on your terminology. Preempted means it was just gone. It did not air. It was moved in a different time slot. It aired after the game, correct?
That's correct. And by the way, These numbers were compiled by WrestleNomics, who used the term preempted airing.
Well, hey, Thurston. Sorry, there's no such thing as a preempted airing. That's like a jumbo shrimp or government intelligence.
Well, the ratings for 11:48 to 1:48 a.m. So 11:48 p.m. to 1:48 a.m. 463,000 viewers, the highest number since February 10th.
Woo!
And the highest key demo number since February 10th.
What the fuck, at midnight?
Well, let's tell the real story here, because this is fascinating. I have this in front of me. Okay. So 463 is the average, okay?
Right.
Quarter one, if you can call it, I guess you can, 11:48 to 12 a.m. Top Flight versus FTR, 1 million viewers.
Gee, okay, because of the ball game.
Well, again, this 12 minutes got 1 million viewers on average.
Okay.
12 to 12:15, quarter two, Top Flight versus FTR continued, picture-in-picture, Okada video, Pac versus Encore More.
No.
Whoever that is, that's a great name. Oh, that's a great name.
No, he's the grandson of that famous Western outlaw Lester Moore. Remember that tombstone on Boot Hill? Here lies Lester Moore, no less, no more.
Well, plus there was a Pac promo, 671,000 viewers.
Ouch. Well, at least the Pac promo saved it.
Quarter three, 12:15 to 12:30 a.m. An ad break, a Danielson promo, a Shane Taylor Promotions versus Lion Hook. Is it a match? Oh, it is a match. With picture-in-picture and full-screen ads. 547,000 viewers.
Wow.
The next segment, 12:30 to 12:45 a.m. The continuation of that match with the post-match featuring Anthony Ogogo, the Dustin Rhodes promo, an ad break, and Ospreay's backstage promo. 443,000 viewers.
Well, but here the thing is, they're still doing better on this show than they do on their Friday night show that's regularly scheduled.
We now go to 12:45 to 1 a.m. Brian Keith, Christopher Daniels, and Matt Sydal versus the House of Black with picture-in-picture ads. The post-match with FTR, Adam Copeland, Mark Briscoe, and Young Bucks. 367,000 viewers.
Ouch!
We now go to the big 1 a.m. hour, Jim. Rocky Romero and Roderick Strong's backstage angle, an ad break, Lion Hook and Shibata's backstage angle, Yuka Sakazaki versus Trisha Adora.
Oh, come on now.
With picture-in-picture and full-screen ads. 321,000 viewers. Any comment?
I'm still waiting for. They're going to get down below 200,000 by the time this is over with.
Well, we now go to 1:15 to 1:30 a.m. The continuation of Yuka Sakazaki versus Trish Adora, Matt Menard and Daniel Garcia's backstage angle, Claudio Castagnoli versus The Butcher, a Julia Hart promo, and an ad break. 282,000 viewers.
Yeesh.
We now go to the big 130 to 145 segment. Samoa Joe's backstage promo. Penta El Zero Miedo versus Commander with picture-in-picture. 236,000 viewers.
Oh, shucks.
And finally, the 4-minute, is it an overrun? I don't even know. 4 minutes, 145 to 149, the continuation of Penta versus Commander. 234,000 viewers.
So they went from 1 million to 234,000 in 2 hours. They lost 75% of more than 75% of the audience.
Now, again, it's late at night. Usually we don't do quarterly breakdowns after, the late evening news.
But that's fast. I wonder somebody's got to do this research. What is normally, and I know they don't have a NCAA ball game for a lead-in, but between 11:45 and 1:45 on this particular network, what are they still on over there? TBS?
Well, this is TNT.
It's TNT.
Collision.
All right, whatever the fuck it is. Whichever one they are. What percentage of the audience is lost on the regular programming in that time? I would wonder what that would be. Then we'd have some kind of comparison.
Now, it's in the middle of this show, and again, you hear that it did 463,000 viewers. That's very deceiving in this way. It started at 1 million, and every quarter went down. Every single quarter is down. So somewhere in there, in the middle of the night, they announced that they're going to be airing this footage. So people woke up the night of WrestleMania 2, AEW, knowing this would get this kind of attention, makes themselves the center of the story. Everyone's thinking, okay, they must have a strategy here.
Well, but to what audience, though? Because this obviously was not something they thought through very well or for very long. If the very last television program they had before WrestleMania and before their Wednesday night show, they stick it on in the middle of the night. But at the same time, the only audience that they were promoting to by this point was the online audience, the Twitter audience, the media board, social fucking audience, whatever the fuck they call them, that they already have to begin with. They weren't good. They weren't going to be able to, I don't think, sap any of the WWE fans footage of Punk, because they couldn't say his fucking name. They couldn't tell you what it was unless you already knew about it. And then they didn't even tell anybody that they were going to do it on television until the middle of the night on the last show before they were going to do it. So they're narrowcasting to the smallest audience, are they not? I'm sorry, am I making too big a thing out of something frivolous here?
No, you are very right, and I don't think people realize just how narrow the narrowcast is. But that was how people woke up Sunday. CM Punk gets involved in the Drew McIntyre match finish and then costs him the belt. Memorable moment. Big CM Punk chance. The announcement did nothing to take away his popularity right now. Monday night, we'll get to the Raw review after Dynamite this week. CM Punk gets involved. Again, he's involved in a main event thing there, one of the top angles in the company, and everything with him and Drew is clicking right now. It's great.
Yeah.
Then we have Tuesday, waiting for what will be Dynamite. And ladies and gentlemen, this week, as I just said, we're going to review Dynamite before Raw, because I can't wait to hear what Jim has to say about this episode. Maybe the single worst episode of AEW Dynamite, the single most counterproductive episode of AEW Dynamite. It's astounding how bad it is. There's still people pretending that it's good. The matches are great. That's all that matters. Tony does a great job. He's doing this for all of us, and so that he can employ all these wonderful people that could never find a job if it wasn't for Tony. There's still people pretending, but things are looking really bleak.
Well, and now, doom and gloom. No reason to predict the sky is falling. I predict that they can do these lackluster shows filled with these juvenile delinquents airing their personal grievances in 20% full buildings for quite some time now before Shad Khan goes broke. So do not act like the sky is falling, Brian. But in this particular instance, and do you want to go in order of the whole show so we set the people up for it before we get to that security footage video?
You know, I think it's important to, because that's what everyone's talking about. That ends up being the big moment of the show. But the entirety of this show, of this promotion, of the energy around it, of the lack of momentum, of everyone telling you everything's great while the sky is falling. I get it. They're never going to go out of business. He's got endless amounts of money. It's not about that. It's bad. It's not good. If you see something on TV, if you see like a great talk show, like, wow, this talk show host is really good. That doesn't mean you're going to like every talk show. That doesn't mean you can't say, boy, that Jimmy Fallon fucking sucks. And there's a lot of people still pretending with AEW, but this was an all-time awful show in the midst of just a period of no one giving a shit, and the people that do acknowledging it's bad. Yes, let's go in order.
I will agree with you that this probably wasn't the week to lead with a, oh golly, something has happened that was so unexpected that the announcers don't know what the fuck's going on angle. Because they a lot of them look like they don't know what's going on. So they were in Charleston, West Virginia. This is April the 10th, a red letter day in wrestling history. They're already, hashtag WCW 2000 was trending. And they were in Charleston, West Virginia at Civic Center. And I know that building very well. And I was telling you briefly before we went on the air, I don't even know. Perhaps you can find it from Thurston Howell. But with the upper deck empty and the lower bowl over half empty, and from the crowd shots or lack thereof, and how they took some more ceiling shots on their cover pitches, did they have 3,000 people?
I'm going to see what we can find out, but since you brought it up here, let's talk about it. Multiple shots, once again, of the ceiling, as opposed to just shooting a few fans talking to each other. Anything. Yes. They shoot the ceiling, a moving shot.
Find a cute child, for fuck's sake, if you can't do anything else.
Yeah, instead they do a moving shot of the ceiling. That helps.
But anyway, and Justin Roberts, the illegitimate son of Jake Roberts, was in the ring introducing immediately the world title eliminator match between Samoa Joe and Dustin Rhodes. And this is the deal where if Dustin beats him in a non-title match, then he gets a title match. And okay, fine, but Joe is coming out the entranceway and Swerve tackles him and spears him through a table. And the referees come out and tells, oh, Swerve, you got to leave. And now that you've committed this horrible, aggravated mayhem. And so the announcers are confused. What do we do? What do we do? And they're doing the stall, my God. And I understand, and I like, and I have done many times, the, oh, shit, folks, well, something's happened here that's disrupted our broadcast. We've got to consult with the director of the truck, whatever. But this was articulated by a sock face in such a stagey, amateurish, and or markish way that you didn't believe it. And then Tony grunts, and I think Taz rolls his eyes, and, and Zeppo becomes their agent when he gets off camera.
Hey, by the way, Jim, this is not necessarily a final count, but as of yesterday, Jim, according to WrestleTix, AEW Dynamite had 2,971 tickets distributed.
And that's distributed, not necessarily that everybody took them up on it, as we've come to find out in the past when we've looked at these things closely. Well, anyway, so the thing that they go to, but now bear in mind, they've just had a hot angle with the world champion and the number one challenge. I guess he's number one challenge. The guy everybody wants to see him win it from him. And they've got the biggest audience of the night because the first quarter is always the biggest audience of the night. This is not like a revelation either. So what do? They just pitch, well, let's go to this. And it's the tape of Trent turning on pockets and splitting up the best friends or whatever from the other night. After an angle with the main event guys in the highest rated quarter hour, they go to the fucking underneath comedy. But what the fuck? And Renee Moxley Good that is standing there talking about the implosion of the best friends for 30 seconds and goes back to more baffled announcers. And I'm like, they can't pull off like they know what they're doing, so they can't pull off working like they don't know what they're doing when they actually allegedly know what they're doing. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but you say this is coming off the top angle with the guy that people want to win the title, and they do. Doesn't that even seem cooled off from what it was just a few weeks ago? The whole idea people were excited to see Swerve win the belt. Is anyone talking about that?
Well, no, because they may have missed the time where people were kind of interested, but also everybody else is, shaking their heads at all the drama and the goofiness now of what they know, the fans know, because the company is telling them on and off television what the Bucks are doing with their goofiness and the pettiness, and the ostrich is going to bow up at Triple H here in a little while. And I'm with a lot better material and delivery than Maddie and Nikki, but still, I know Will can just go back home to England to across the pond when this thing implodes, but he doesn't have to work for or with Triple H. But some of these guys that live over here might want to fucking watch out.
But again, no one's really talking about Samoa Joe, the world champion. No one's talking about his thing with Swerve anymore. For a while, that was the only thing on the show people were talking about. And then the big Trent heel turn. It would be like if in 95, Butch turned on Luke. Who gives a shit?
No, honestly, I think that would have gotten a lot more emotional response. Think about it. Especially think of the children.
Does he turn back into like a sheep herder? Does he go crazy?
No, yes, he would go back all the way back to the fucking Kiwi sheep herders of the old days. But anyway, the point is, I think they think that everybody is going to watch this show waiting to see what they have advertised in a roundabout way. And they're still billing it that way. Unseen security camera footage of All In Wembley backstage. They can't even mention Punk's name. They are alluding to something that they're thinking they're going to draw a ratings number off of, or somehow they've sold Tony. Somebody, wink wink, has sold Tony. Oh, it'll be big ratings. And they can't even mention the guy's name that they're going to try to draw the rating off of. And they can't come out and say it's the incident where CM Punk choked out Jack Perry. They just have to. So they've been advertising for 4 days, starting in the middle of the night, security camera footage from backstage at All In of an incident. The fuck? And then they send the TNT title match out there with Penthouse and Edge. And, I started to nod off and I got distracted with petting Harley on the head. But did Edge actually ever get any offense in this match, or did Penthouse just beat the shit out of him for 15 minutes?
This match was brutal. At times, the crowd was dead quiet. Not like just quiet, but dead quiet. It sounded like no one was there. You can hear
murmuring, people typing on the phone buttons with their thumbs.
This match went so long. It had no energy. It's not my style of wrestling. I didn't think this was good at all.
Well, and I know because Edge did a few of those spinning ankle head scissor Rana things, and he actually did a flying head scissors. I haven't seen anybody do since Robert Gibson in 1988. But otherwise, I think Penthouse beat the shit out of him for the entire match, and I think it was more Edge trying to show the fans that he could do a couple of the lucha moves still in his golden years, in his dotage.
Yeah, I mean, remember that promo he just did? He was talking about all the dream matches he's never had that he wants.
Well, this was a fucking dream right after you goddamn had toe main at a fucking truck stop. And again, Edge is still in this pecking order, one of their major stars, one of their big names, one of their top guys, and he gets a shit kicked out of it. Penthouse can't work, and nothing we say is going to change that. Nothing Edge does is going to change that. It's just empirical. He grabbed a headlock with his right arm. Did you say?
It was a luchador. And lucha, they do it on the other side of the body.
Yeah, but we're in goddamn. Wait a minute. Where's the notes? We're in Charleston, West Virginia, with a guy that's trying to shoot you off so he can do something, and he had to fucking just kind of shove him and hope he turned and came back the right way. It's totally unnatural. And it's the same shit all the time with this guy, Penthouse. But anyway, he beat him up through 2 breaks. And I'm just looking to I don't remember what the finish was because I'm thinking I was writing it any second. But, oh, yeah. After the Penthouse sunset flip powerbombed him and got a 2 count, Edge speared him out of nowhere 1, 2, 3 and was lucky to get the victory. And that's when the lights went out. In Georgia, that's a night that the hung an innocent Booker. Oh. So the lights come on and Julia Hart is in the ring, and there's nothing the matter with that, but Brody King came from behind and started beating up Edge. Okay, I've got this over. And then the music plays, and here comes Willow, and she tackles Julia and starts beating her up. Well, then Brody King stops beating up Edge so he can pull Julia away from fucking Willow, and then faces off with Willow, does Brody. And it's like, oh, is he going to hit Willow? But then, what? Hit Willow, hit Willow, hit Willow. But then somehow fucking Edge was up, and he and Brody got in an awkward fight that ended when Brody leaped over the top rope when Edge pulled it down, kind of, sort of, and the heels left. Awkward.
Well, he was too early, I guess, running to the rope, or Edge pulled it down early. What happened there?
I didn't bother to back up and analyze it because it just bleh. It was just And I mean, anybody that gives a shit enough can go back and look at it and see. But it was a combination of a lot of people running in different directions at the wrong time. I don't think anybody's going to go back and look at it, Brian.
And this sets up a mixed tag match. Are you excited for that coming out of this?
Oh, God, well, they're going to announce that later on. And boy, that immediately perked up my interest to do something else next week. It's Edge, and now they're putting him in mixed tag team matches with Hit Willow, Hit Willow, Hit Willow. Then, speaking of mixed tag teams, we had Renee Moxley Good with Chris Jericho, Hook, and Shibata. And what a mix that is. And they're going to have a 6-man tag team match tonight. So you got fair warning, folks. And Jericho he's now just saying the obvious thing that you would say if you wanted to tell everybody, I'm going to turn heel and take advantage of these youngsters. I'm a prick. He's saying, I'll start. I'll do this and that. Hook, I'll tag you. You do this and that. Then you tag Shibata and he does this and that, and it's done. And I'll explain how you do this all, and you can breathe in my rarefied air. Like if he was trying to sucker these people in, he wouldn't be smoother than that, especially on television. And then Shapoopy has the deal on his phone where it speaks English for him. And when Jericho walks out, his phone asks Hook, what's his deal? In whatever kind of voice that it had. That sounded like, what's his deal? Right? What is this?
Every segment has been awful. Everyone who was once a star isn't. And then they just throw random people together like it's war in the 90s. The promotion, ladies and gentlemen, not, Kosovo or anything.
No, they actually were serious and meant their business.
They should lean into the idea Shibata's brain may or may not be there. Because then at least it'd be interesting. Because this isn't him having a phone that'll talk for him. Whose idea was that?
How does it talk? How does it talk for him when he didn't talk Japanese into it, and he didn't have time to fucking type that? Did he?
You know, I wasn't watching his fingers, so I don't know how fast he types.
Well, we'll let you. He's got the fastest fingers in Japan, from what I hear.
That's right. They say if he doesn't make it as a wrestler, he has a great career as a receptionist.
And speaking of receiving things, we're about to receive a package on the big rivalry that is the FTR and the Buckaroos. The rivalry has been rekindled. It has been, the interest in that, I would say, has been, nil ever since their last match. And FTR had 2 out of 3, and by some miracle. And has anybody wanted to see that anymore?
I think you could argue people were kind of tired of it before the third match at Wembley.
Well, they figured out a way to have it again, so that now I believe the shoe will be on the other foot, the belt will be on the other waist, whatever the fuck. The Buckaroos have to win this so they can get heat for their new characters. And they did a whole package on this rivalry. And the one thing that you could see from the package of the rivalry of the 3 matches is that in 2022, FTR were fucking over. Though the people were standing and cheering, right? And in 2023, it wasn't necessarily that bad. Early 2023, but are people standing and cheering as soon as the first note of that fucking music hits anymore? Are people thrilled and hanging on the finishes of the FTR matches? They've been nullified like the rest of the talent's been nullified already.
Again, some of that's self-inflicted too.
Well, it's been allowed to happen. As a responsible boss, producer, booker, whatever, do you allow your talent to go out on TV and commit career suicide, or do you try to prevent them from it?
It's a number of things. I mean, the Bucks right now may lay claim to being the most overpaid tag team in wrestling history because they're the highest paid. But if you really look at the value that AEW is getting from them right now, can you justify them getting millions of dollars? Or being executives? Again, how long do you get to be executives if everything goes down? Nothing ever goes up. Everything goes down.
Well, hold on now. We're going to justify everything coming up.
Well, hold on. But what I was saying, though, is that's the Bucks. And then FTR, again, people got behind them finally the way everyone thought would always happen. And then they kind of burned it out, too. You hear a lot of listeners have emailed us. You hear a lot of people say it, just social media behavior from Dax or constantly getting beat down on TV. They've given no one reason to care about them. So you have 2 teams right now.
Well, no, I don't think. Hold on. I agree with the social media, but constantly beaten down on TV. I don't think they're showing up going, hey, can you guys beat the shit out of us and leave us laying flat of our face again tonight?
Exactly. But how many times have you seen FTR beaten down, looking weak, just laying there?
Yes.
On TV.
Yes.
So I think
it's over.
You have 2 teams right now who have never been cooler, right? I mean, when was the last time either of these teams have had less buzz, less care?
And they're fighting for the tag team championship at the end of the long road of that tournament that was necessitated because they had to let Sting retire with the belts. But nevertheless, that's how, because that's what I was going to say earlier, is we couldn't figure out in what context, how, what reason were they going to present the backstage footage from the security camera at Wembley Stadium of Punk choking Jack Perry out? How can they even tie this? Where did this come from? Well, we knew where it came from. It came from their still fucking mad, freaking out, jumping up and down, stamping their feet and throwing their baby rattle out of the crib about the interview that Punk did. But how were they going to justify this in their program, present this in their program as if it had anything to do with anything going on in their world on TV? That's our question. And apparently the answer is that when they had done that package on FTR and the Little Buckies and their big rivalry, and then they come to the backstage, the monitor area. There's some production area because they couldn't do this. I'm talking about Maddie and Nikki. They couldn't do this in one take because I don't even know if they can look at each other and keep a straight face. Dressed in those flamboyant suits as they are, with that ridiculous facial hair colored with a Sharpie and the fake tough guy demeanor and the cheesiness of the whole presentation. But they're sitting in front of monitors so they could do as many takes of this as they needed to until they got it right. And probably also that way they didn't have to come to Charleston, West Virginia, be there in person.
No, they were there.
Were they there? Well, son of a bitch.
They were in the angle right after this. Did you not watch that?
Oh, yeah, they were, weren't they? I forgot. Well, because it was Okada. I was trying to look away from that, too. But anyway, they're sitting there on the pre-tape, and they draw the comparison to set up the reason why they're going to play this security footage is because it happened at Wembley, and that's the last time that they wrestled FTR, and because they're also EVPs, and they had this backstage incident involving two individuals, the scapegoat, Jack Perry, who's a lovable kid, and the other individual who, quote unquote, tried to make the entire show about himself. I can't make this up. That distracted us, and we couldn't, get ready, and we couldn't pray before our match, and we lost because we were distracted because of this incredible incident.
Because our friend mouthed off, and someone thought that was reason enough to try to make him stop.
And also because they weren't even in the fucking video. There was nothing of them in the, why were they distracted? Somebody say, hey, Punk just put a face lock on Jack. Ah, shit. All right, well, we got to put our match together. What the fuck did they need to do? But the point is, that's how they figured that it was going to be a good idea to show this footage and to tease to people who didn't know what the fuck that they were talking about in some cases. Footage of Punk on the TV just to get the curiosity from the audience that they've already got watching. And that's how they tied it into their angle with for the tag team title tournament final. So that's the reason they give. And they say, well, this individual, because they can't say his name. This individual is good friends with FTR. Are they the masterminds behind this entire thing? Which maybe there was something to that. But then they said, no, because they had to do the supposed pointed elbow in the ribs remark that landed flat because they don't have a goddamn wit, much less a sarcastic wit. Where Maddie said, no, you can't spread rumors. That's very unprofessional. And then they think you could tell that I'm not sure who behind the camera, who in the truck. I would have to think Tony thought this, but they thought that this was good stuff that they were doing. And they were thrown off their games by having to deal with this stuff and got beat by FTR, but there should be an asterisk by that. And somehow the incident threatened to take down their biggest show of all time, except it didn't. And then they just show the goddamn security camera. And before we get to what that entails, Brian, any thoughts of their performance up until now?
One of the biggest problems with the Bucks in general has been their inability to understand how bad their stuff comes across. From the purely deadly school of acting, these two. It's not good. Again, there's some truth in what they're saying while they're working here, while they're trying to make this about FTR, who also are never there when Punk is in any of these altercations. FTR is back at the hotel or in their locker room or whatever. But they're obsessed with him. They always try to make it like Punk did this, Punk did that. We've seen the last 2 weeks who's obsessed with CM Punk. It's Tony Khan and the Young Bucks. Why is Edge doing a promo about how great the place is? Because Punk did an interview on Ariel Helwani's podcast.
Now, be fair, when you compare numbers these days, Ariel's ahead.
The point of the matter is, what are they referring to? What are they addressing? And why? And they've made CM Punk bigger. They've somehow managed to make him bigger and look even better. And well, I'll save my comments about the actual footage, but again, the big takeaway, like we started this show, these guys apparently wanted to do this for a while. They thought this would help Jack Perry somehow. I don't know how. By the way, how's he? They call him the scapegoat. He calls himself the scapegoat. Who exactly pointed the finger at? Who's made him the scapegoat? Is it Tony? Is it Punk? Like, whose scapegoat is he?
Oh, well, I think that it's Tony, because Tony got mad at Jungle Boy there for costing him his biggest star, and so he sent Jungle Boy home to collect his money where he wouldn't have to talk to him. And, you know, the Lollipop Guild, they like to all be together. I'm sure the Buckaroos have wanted to do some trampoline workouts with their boy Jack, but he hadn't been around for him to. So he was made the scapegoat. It was all Punk's fault. He tried to come in here and be all goddamn business and shit.
Again, these guys had time. You have to think there was someone in one of their ears saying, this is a bad idea. This doesn't help you. This makes you guys smaller. And we'll talk about the reaction they got in the angle after this, but that was the setup to the video, and it's a video everyone has wanted to see ever since we heard there was footage.
Well, and there was no audio whatsoever, and when the Buckaroos pitched to it, they couldn't narrate over it. I'm thinking there's some legal reason that they couldn't.
So Punk doesn't sue them. That's
well,
exactly
but I mean,
what it is.
maybe they couldn't transform it in any way, or it would be so. Because here's the thing. They've announced an incident took place that distracted them and caused them to lose. If we're just talking about an audience that watches this television program, if you're not following on Twitter, I know, and for our audience, that's hard. There are people out there, though, that don't even listen to us. Imagine that. But if you're just watching this TV show, not social media, whatever, they've announced backstage footage of an incident between Jack Perry and another individual. And then when the footage comes up, there's no audio and there's no narration. There's Jack coming back from his match. There is the other individual walking. None of that. You see Jack Perry, and it's in color. And there's 8 or 10 people in the immediate area. And here's one thing. The gorilla position in the Attitude Era was like a fucking 10 by 10 foot tent with a lunchroom table, a monitor, and 3 chairs and a light on the desk. And if you had room to stand in the corner, if you weren't in the way, you could sneak in there. And generally on a raised platform with pipe and drape railings. So if somebody fucking stepped the wrong way, you might eat the fucking concrete. So if any kind of skirmish got triggered in that instance, somebody might fucking take a bump. But this is a goddamn building hallway. It's lit up. There's doorways and hallways, and there's 8 or 10 people, standing around doing their things. There's some producers. There's goddamn some technical people, apparently not recognizable as wrestling folks. There's wrestlers. There's everybody, right? And you see Jack Perry walk back from, his match, and you see then Punk. If you know who you're looking for, then you can see him. He's got XXX on the back of his hoodie, but otherwise you don't really know who the fuck, because his back is to the security camera. And if you're studying them, instead of everything else going on in this picture where people are talking or standing around, then you notice that they speak to each other for however many seconds. and then Punk fucking shoves him, bam, and pushes him back a little bit, and then, goddamn, as we've heard happen, snatches him in a front face lock. And then, as we've also heard, Samoa Joe was there. He was one of the people in the camera shot all along. He runs up.
A couple things there that we heard from what you have to presume is the Jack Perry side of things that were kind of disproven. We heard that Punk tried to hit Jack Perry but missed. Punk tried to get him in a headlock, but he couldn't get it, and Jack Perry escaped. Samoa Joe had to pull CM Punk away. It's the exact opposite of what happened. Chris Hero came around to help. Everyone was there. Punk did exactly what he said. All those stories about, oh, he can't really fight, he didn't do anything to Jack Perry, that was spin from day one about this whole thing.
Well, and the fact that this was a fight, I think, was spin from day one. Because let's face it, Brian, of all the hundreds and thousands of locker room skirmishes, this, by the way, the first time a legitimate one's ever been caught on video. I'm not talking about a match that turns into a shoot or people quit cooperating, get mad or whatever. I'm talking about something in backstage or in a locker room. First time ever, because nobody had cameras. And nobody had phones. And nobody had all that bullshit. But of all of the thousands of them that have happened in pro wrestling over a period of time, there was less to this than there was to almost any of them, wasn't there? How could this be any less than a shoving match? You would escalated from shove to face lock. Boom, pull apart, end of story. Good God, this wouldn't have been remembered till Thursday years ago.
If you remember Samoa Joe at the media scrum after this, when he was asked about it, he was pretty nonchalant. You know, I've seen worse fights. Wasn't much of anything. Tony Khan, who was on the other side of the table, whose hand reached out like a fan at some point in the video, he was scared for his life. Samoa Joe, who was in the middle of it, said, hey, it wasn't a big deal when you watch it. It wasn't.
That's the thing. Hold on here. I got Paul Turner was there, the referee. Samoa Joe was coming from the other side from behind of Jack Perry to pull him back. Jerry Lynn, I believe it was, from the footage available, I think is the one who got Punk. And as soon as they got there and Punk let him go, the same thing that he said on the interview. He backed up and looked at everybody. He turned to the right. You can see him all. You can't see Tony on this shot because he's around the corner on this shot. He turns around. He says, this place is a joke. You're a clown. Fuck it. I quit. He turns back around and yells something across the room and fucking throws his hands up in disgust and spins around and walks off back to his locker room. And there's Jack Perry standing there dazed and confused. Yeah, Malachi Black was going with him.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the point is, everybody's story was ridiculous. This wasn't even a fight. And they were all somehow kind of shocked by all of this, that Tony feared for his life and came out and said that publicly the following week on television, as we've said on this program since we heard it. That was legal verbiage that he was instructed to say by his crack legal staff at the time. It probably would have been laughed out of fucking court once they saw footage like this, trying to avoid getting sued. But also, so Tony, this was what he was feared for his life for. This was a goddamn, also the fight that we heard about where Punk tried to sucker punch him and all this other shit. What the fuck? The only
sucker punch.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of that shit. It's not a sucker punch. If you're standing face to face with someone and saying, hey, if you got a problem, let me know. And they're saying, do something about it.
And boom, both hands on the fucking pecs at a nice fucking velocity, gets you a few feet away. And then if he did something about it, boom, headlock done.
It's not a sucker punch if you're face to face. It's not a sucker punch if you're just
looking at it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But that's what I'm saying. And it proved the story that Punk had told, to the point where old Ariel Helwani actually put a split screen up on Twitter of the video of the incident on one side and Punk telling the story on the other side, and it matched up like the Dark Side of the Moon and fucking Wizard of Oz. almost to the second he's narrating it. It is so it validated Punk's story.
But how about what we had heard? Remember, this apparently, allegedly, is the footage that Bryan Danielson and the attorney saw that made it crystal clear they had to fire CM Punk. It was this footage that we kept hearing that. Well, Danielson's his friend. And he saw the footage and he said, there's no way that we can't fire him.
Oh, yeah. Well, but now here's the thing. The attorneys I can believe, because there's still some of these fucking gutless morons out there on Twitter going, well, he assaulted a coworker. He should be fired and prosecuted. Dipshits, this isn't working in a fucking bank. The fucking hockey team got a fight last week. Which one of those you gonna fucking fire or prosecute or whatever, you dipshits? But this wasn't even a goddamn fight. And that's the point is, I could see lawyers saying, "Oh my God," but Danielson, I'm sure he's seen a bunch of better fights than this. And the point again is, don't fuck around and find out, Jungle Jack.
Do you think he did it because he was in front of Tony? Like he thought, like if there was ever a place I'd be safe from this guy actually kicking my ass, it's right here in front of Tony Khan.
Probably just thinking, well, he doesn't have time right now. He's got to go out. I could be back in the fucking hotel by the time he gets out of the ring. Whatever the fuck, you don't know. Like I said, because these are his friends. But the point is, what it did was it confirmed the story that CM Punk told Ariel Helwani on that show of what happened. And whether you think that Punk should have fucking shoved his ass or not, personally I do, because if I saw that smarmy little fucking smart aleck face in front of me with those goddamn weird sideburns, I'd probably want to fucking snatch him around the neck. But this was not a big fucking fight. It wasn't worth firing your fucking top star over. But thank you, Tony, because we're getting great programming out of it now. I'm talking about big time programming over on the other channels since you let Punk go over to be another one of the biggest stars. Cody's got the spot right now as the biggest star in the business. But I think Punk's coming up behind. Tony's let both of them go in the last 2 years. So it proves Punk's side of the story is what was legitimate and what happened. And you still, at the end of this, if you didn't know that you were looking at CM Punk, you didn't know you were looking at CM Punk. Did you? They've never said his name yet to this time.
Well, an important note, because we did see footage, I'm assuming you may have too, on Twitter, on social media, people in the room filming the Tron, the big screen, so you get the live room reaction.
Yes.
They were chanting CM Punk.
Yeah, yes.
They popped when he pushed Jack Perry and when he grabbed him.
Yes. If they could get any of their angles that they do on purpose to get over like that in front of the crowd, they'd have something. But yeah, the fans were chanting CM Punk in the building, but they still couldn't say CM Punk's name on the video that confirmed the story that CM Punk had told.
How does this help Jack Perry in any way for the future?
It doesn't, because as soon as they see Jack Perry from any time that he comes back in front of a crowd, they're going to start chanting CM Punk. Aren't they?
He's wrestling on a New Japan show in Chicago, I think, in the next week.
Whether it's New Japan, whether it's AEW, they're going to be chanting CM Punk. If they're chanting CM Punk at an AEW show now, when there's footage of CM Punk choking out Jack Perry playing on the Tron without even being identified, and what do you think they're going to be chanting when this little dipshit shows his face again?
Did you?
Go ahead.
Did you see that? You talked about the footage that Ariel Helwani put up. AEW working overtime into the middle of the night, putting up copyright strikes or going after people.
Oh, yes.
Who put up the surveillance footage.
Well, but now here, explain this to me, because yes, as soon as Ariel Helwani, he's a noted journalist. He got his copyright struck from old Aubrey Ed, Don Stevens, and got that video that I just talked about where he put it up split screen taken down. And everybody that tried to put the footage up, they've been copyright striking them. But did AEW copyright strike themselves, or did they somehow realize that they had royally fucked up after they got the reaction that they got on Twitter and on social media, where when they put the clip up on YouTube of the Buckaroos interview, which the Buckaroos came back after the clip and supposedly closed up with trying to sell their tag team match, the security camera footage wasn't in there. Did they copyright strike themselves out of trying to fix their dumb fuckery?
I don't know, because, you brought up an interesting point earlier, because we don't know how it works in England, but they got this footage and they were able to air it, but no commentary, no running dialogue, nothing to change the footage in any way. It could be their legal department saying that, but they took it out of the video. That means on their own, they didn't put it there. But the strikes that people are getting, people are getting it pulled down from Jacksonville, Florida. So AEW is pulling down other people's videos for a different reason than they pulled down their own.
Well, maybe it's the same reason. Maybe they realized, shit, we didn't want people to see this after all. But, well, then riddle me this, then. They've got, what you're saying is AEW on their very own YouTube channel put up the Maddie and Nikki's interview without the security camera footage. Did they edit it, or do they pitch to footage that doesn't live there and then come back and refer to it?
I was told that it edits right from them pitching the footage to the thing with FTR, which we'll talk about shortly.
Okay, but they were pitching to the foot. They were talking about that. That was the whole setup, was talking about this footage. So how odd does that look for somebody watching it on YouTube, where they're talking about this footage was the whole reason they lost this match and this horrible distraction and all this shit with this individual? And then they go to an FTR interview?
Can you imagine going through all this and then you're going to use the footage and then you can't make any money with it?
Then maybe they can't, because it's government footage. They can't monetize it on YouTube. Maybe that's it.
Maybe that was a clue. They shouldn't have put it on TV.
Maybe they shouldn't have.
Maybe that was the clue.
Well, they already knew they couldn't monetize anything on this TV show. So this, and again, before we even get to FTR coming out right then to do the things that they did, people didn't like this. Even normally the people who like this kind of thing didn't like this kind of thing. Everybody started laughing at them and laughing at Tony, the Buckaroos, the concept of this. People laughing that, what the fuck, the biggest star in your company works for the other guys, and you're trying to show footage of him and can't even say his name, and he's beating up your wrestlers. What the fuck? For all the different reasons. Have we heard from Tony Khan on this matter since in the 12 hours or whatever since this has happened?
We have not. I see someone here. I remember we talked to one of his tweets before. I don't remember which one. Gareth, WWE Gareth on Twitter. CCTV footage is classified as personal data under GDPR law in the United Kingdom. CM Punk could quite possibly do the funniest thing ever.
What?
I guess.
What would be the funniest thing ever?
If it's personal data, if the footage of Punk in the fight is Punk's personal data, I think that means he could sue AEW for airing the footage.
But everybody in the fucking video then would be their personal data. Would you have to have a class action suit or a majority rules, or can anybody just get pissed off about it?
I don't know. Well, we will find out. But no, nothing. No comment from Tony Khan. No comment from the Bucks.
It wasn't even close, was it? I mean, I know I've tried to block most of the Buckaroo, fanatics out there, but I saw pretty much majority rule that it was a stupid thing they did, and nobody could figure out why they did it.
It's one of the most amazing counterproductive moments in wrestling history. It's like Hogan went on Arsenio, but it was at Bash 91. No good came out of it. The Live House. The telling thing was the Live House's lack of reaction to Edge's promo last week. That should have been a sign for these guys that they're making a mistake with all this. And The CM Punk chants are louder now than they've been in AEW since he left. Because every now and then you'd hear some of them, and the AEW fans would say, oh, boo, don't, no, he almost killed the company. They're louder than ever before lately. This was an amazing self-inflicted wound to the groin by Tony Khan and the Young Bucks, who were laughed at by everyone who watched this show. And Jim, if I had said beforehand, would you put money down on whether this will be a positive or a negative for AEW, what do you think you would have done?
Well, I would have put that money down, courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings, because, Brian, have you heard what they got going on? There's a new deal over here. They're an official betting partner of the NBA. That's for one thing. Well, that's not new.
A new deal?
But what's new is they've got a new fantasy app. And I don't know whether this is like one of those inflatable fantasy things or whether it's battery operated or you have to plug it in, but it's a fantasy app from DraftKings called Pick Six, where apparently, here's what you do. You have to download it. You know you do that. You download the app, however you do those things. The DraftKings Pick Six app. Use that right now or download that right now with the code JCE. And then what you do is you select if a player will have more or less of a stat. For example, will a player have more than 1 rebound? Or will a player have less than 3.5 assists? Or will a player have less than 5 illegitimate children? And you pick a stat, more or less, and then you pick your favorite players, and you compete for huge cash prizes. I mean I mean just plain big. Life-changing amount of money, especially if you currently live under a bridge. That's what you do with the DraftKings Pick Six fantasy app. Normally the fantasy apps, back in the old days where you just opened the magazine to the centerfold, but now you got to do the electronic thing. Have you opened your fantasy app lately, Brian?
I have not, but it's something I certainly need to do because the fantasy world of Tony Khan and the fantasy booking of, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but I need to open this fantasy app and find out exactly how fantastic it is.
Well, folks, right now, download the new DraftKings Pick Six app using the code JCE and take on the competition with your best NBA player picks only on DraftKings Pick Six with code JCE. The crown is yours. And folks, right here at this particular point in time is where I usually give in a brief and succinct manner all the various fine print involved with advertising the DraftKings situation for some of the people around the country who may need help with their gambling issues. But in this case, I've been told that often I fluff through this thing because, Brian, I'm only an amateur. I'm a small-town bird lawyer, and I got into the broadcasting through the back door. So what we have done, folks, is today we have a professional announcer that will give you all the warnings and the heads up that you need to successfully navigate the dangerous and deadly world of DraftKings. And as a special added bonus today, it's going to be an old friend of ours here on the show, Styles Bitchley.
Styles Bitchley
has voiced over this brief interlude right here.
Is this why you got together with Kippelman the other day? This is what you were doing?
Yep, we went and found Bitchley and sprung him for a few hours, got him to put this on tape, and then tied those sleeves back behind his back and took him right back.
Well, let's hear what he had to say.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 and over in most eligible states. Age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Pick Six not available in all states, including but not limited to Connecticut and New York. For up-to-date list of states, visit dkng.co/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Jimmy, you sure you got the right guy? I don't know if that's the same guy I'm remembering.
Well, he had his driver's license. Maybe he just picked his pocket.
Huh. Well, no one will pick yours. with DraftKings. Ain't that right, Jim?
That's right. You don't have to worry about anybody picking your pocket. You're reaching in and pulling the stuff out and handing it to them.
That's right. Pick your own pocket with DraftKings. That's what we're trying to say.
Pick 6.
What's that promo code? One more time, Jim.
JCE.
That's right. Promo code JCE. But, Jim, let's get back to Dynamite and pick up right where we left things off. The Young Bucks aired the footage.
Do we have to?
This is such a fascinating show for history's sake. I do think we have to.
All right. Well, anyway, so the Buckaroos, they got up and Matty dramatically shifted his jacket and they walked off. And boy, howdy, what's going to happen next? Well, FTR was out to the ring. And in Charleston, West Virginia, FTR can't even really get him up anymore in the backbone of America. But Cash did the promo at the start, and Cash can talk. He has a good voice. He can enunciate the words. He has some emotion. But again, there's nobody producing their material. And he has to tie into this whole thing. We were ready to put this all behind us. What? Because nobody who doesn't know the story from the internet still has any idea what's going on from what they've heard on this television program. We don't know what you're talking about.
And they just saw this footage that they weren't in. We're trying to put all this behind us. You weren't even there.
Yes. But in this promo, Cash uses the phrase, we were doing some of our best shows ever. And now we're talking about 8 months ago again. Well, yes, correct. You're talking about 8 months ago again, but also that's not terminology. How does this help FTR? FTR are the ones in the tag team tournament finals. It's vital they be in the finals. And I'll get you in the vitals.
I like the idea it would be called their finals.
The finals, yes. The tag team tournament finals. All right. The point is they're not talking about winning a tag team match or putting this rivalry. They're doing more of a rah-rah speech about the company. You wouldn't use terminology best shows ever unless you're a fan on the internet, which is where they're apparently doing their research because they got no fucking bookers or writers over there. Why should they care if they were doing some of their best shows? It's about the tag team title. They sound like fans when they talk like that. And yes, you're rehashing shit from a long time ago, and Lord knows why. And then Dax did a promo somehow trying to put the Bucks over for creating AEW, but at the same time said FTR has eclipsed them, and did a rah-rah speech for the fans that, again, they already know if they know, because they don't know from what you've told them. And they didn't really create any more interest in the tag team match as much as rambled around, and we got the idea that they love AEW. I don't. You tell me what the fuck's going on here now. What could they have said? I don't even know.
Well, start with the positives. Cash, I think, is really good on the mic. Just like I think he's really good in the ring, and we never see him in anything except, Dax will see in singles matches, not Cash. But they were rambling because it's illogical to try and tie all of this together. Not even being able to say what just aired, or who was in it, or what happened, or how you're involved in any of that. Who's going to mention Colt Cabana if we're going down this road? You know what I mean? Like, why don't we just have the trial of CM Punk over here, but CM Punk will be over there? And their whole thing, too, is, we're friends with Punk. That's what the whole thing here. The whole thing wasn't, we're mad at the Bucks because we need to show them once again we're the best of all time and we need the belts. It was, we're friends with CM Punk. And the Bucks' whole thing was CM Punk made the whole show about him. And they made the whole show about him. This isn't good. FTR's losing fans. FTR have been their own worst enemy on the mic. And it's probably tough to hear that, but FTR have been their own worst enemies on the mic.
There's not an element of we're going to put our foot down and do something about this problem that is been presented to us, there's an element of, please, everybody love the company because they're paying us a lot of money.
Just the whole thing, the way it was laid out, too. They stormed the ring for an unannounced segment to get on here and rant about this. And again, it ties back to the whole rah-rah thing. You know, we appreciate you guys putting a company together. Whatever the fuck they're saying, it's so off-key. They've killed FTR. FTR had no momentum because of the booking. Finally got some because the fans got behind them. And now they've turned those fans to be lackluster. It's amazing.
Before we move on, I wonder if maybe Thurston Howell could do the math. They sold 200,000 tickets over the weekend in one city for the WWE. How long has it been since AEW has sold 200,000 tickets for everything they've done?
Wembley.
But no, that's what I'm saying.
Wembley. Just accept
okay,
it.
There was 75 or 80 or whatever the number was. Have they sold 120,000 since then?
Wembley, man. Look. Tony Khan has done things that no one else has ever done. Wembley.
There's probably a reason for many of those things. Also, here we come with the next round of bitch fest because people need their pussies powdered because their noses are out of snoot and they're offended by what's being said with their names not even being attached to it, but everybody knows. So now Tony's newest billion-dollar baby, Will Ostrich, comes out wearing a stylish gray sweatshirt and sweatpants, and he's pissed off at Triple H because he said there's a rumor going around that you don't want me around. There's a rumor that he's afraid of the grind because of the interview that Triple H said where he said if people want to take a spot where the schedule is better, more time with my family or whatever, that's great. But I want guys that are in it for the grind, that want to be stars, that want to go out there and do this thing, right? They're network TV, big money. So Ostrich was deeply offended, and he said as a response that he's afraid of the grind. Hey, I'm taking 8-hour flights every week to fly over from home and work one day for tens of thousands of dollars a week and then fly back home sitting you probably in first class, at least business, sitting on your ass. How about this? I worked 7 days a week in Mid-South and I was sitting in a car 8 hours a day. What the fuck? This is his defense. He's afraid of the grind. I'm taking 8-hour flights in business. And last week they ran out of peanuts, mate.
Bruv.
I'm sorry.
I'm not Australian, bruv. Not mate. Bruv.
Cheers. So then his reasoning is even though he's flying back and forth to England every week, he's also delivering some of the best matches that the world has ever seen. He's just not selling tickets to any of them. And then took the shot at Triple H, which was better material than the other fucking little twits had earlier when he said, well, the guy who talked about the grind only got his job because he was grinding on the boss's daughter. Ooh. And then he used Roddy Piper's line. Like, don't throw marbles at a man with machine guns or whatever the fuck that he turned it into here about Triple H. But
yeah, Triple H is really scared now.
Oh, shaking. Except the problem is Triple H is sitting on top of his wallet and he can't see far enough down to see Will Ostrich.
Triple H is on the best run he's had as a creative force and a booker and a boss and people loving him. And this is what happens. They have dedicated 2 weeks in a row to guys responding to what Punk said in a podcast interview. Will Ospreay came out. No one even remembers that he talked about his opponent at the upcoming pay-per-view.
And by the way, he did a decent promo on Brian Danielson. He needs produced. He needs produced for his look, his gear, who and when he has a banger with, and the things that he says. But he's got talent, but he's just out there, with a chapped ass.
But no one cares about the Bryan Danielson thing. He talked about Triple H without naming him. What if Triple H comes out and goes, I was talking about Okada? That's the point. AEW had this guy go out there, their new star, in a fucking generic tracksuit. They had him go out there and cut a promo on Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who's never going to wrestle him, who's never going to be there, who, again, if you don't know what he's talking about, he doesn't really say it. So you don't know what he's talking about or why. And it's from a we played the clip on the show, 25-second clip on the Pat McAfee show. Got national TV time. Renee Moxley Good looked despondent, like Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone and her had a day where either they were hamming it up because they didn't want to look too jovial, or they really felt something about the direction of this show.
Well, Tony Schiavone, with his head in his hands in the desk, they were juxtaposing that with footage of him from WCW in 2000 with his head in his hands with the finger poke and things. And it's I can't imagine. I thought he was supposed to be one of Tony's advisors. He can't imagine that this was a good idea, any of this. So they're over here with a TV show where it's like the ICW and the PAFOs are back. All of their big grudges are against the big time wrestlers on the more popular TV program. And we're constantly being reminded that they're jealous of them because that's all they can talk about.
Tony says he's going to be aggressive with free agency. And you kind of heard the argument, I guess, for the people that want to sign there from Will Ospreay. He's happy with the lifestyle. He doesn't have to change. He can just keep doing what he's doing.
Those 8-hour flights are a grind, though, bruv.
Well, if you get a good book or, listen to some music, or if you time it right, or...
listen to a podcast like ours.
That's right. Listen to an episode and a half, and that's 8 hours right there.
There you go.
But that's the argument for the wrestlers' reasoning for going there. Based on the way AEW has handled things the last few days, in terms of a sales pitch, other than Tony's money, why would anyone want to work there right now?
Well, but here's the thing when he talks about he's going to be strong on free agency. Who would that be? Who are the other free agents that are coming up in the very near future that are going to make any difference in anything? Do you think at this point now that if somebody has a spot in the WWE that they are figured in any way that they're going to even think about leaving to do this?
No, and
at this point?
And he's already gutted New Japan.
That's what I'm saying. There's none left. He got the ostrich from England. He got the Okada from Japan. He got the Mercedes from, I don't know, where do they make those? Germany, Austria?
The land of bad promos. I'm not exactly sure where that land would be.
And nobody's going to leave the WWE if they're on a run of any kind to do this now, even with a schedule, right? Or whatever. So what other indie darlings are they going to talk him into signing? Because that's what he's down to. Speaking of indie darlings, the 6-man tag was up next that we were talking about earlier with Jericho, Hook, and Shapoopy against Shibata. Shapoopy.
Why do you do that? Is there a song that I just don't know, or is this a rhythm you come up with?
No, that's Shapoopy. Look it up sometime.
How does it go? What are the lyrics?
Shapoopy. So they were wrestling Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor, and Anthony Ogogo. He's a back. And I'll save you the details of the match. Basically, we talked about it earlier, that Jericho was being the prick and the foreshadowing heelishness, saying, hey, I'll tell you what to do. You do this, you do that, you do the other thing. Bask in the glory and greatness of me, and we'll be fine. And so in the match, finally, Shapoopy.
What song is this?
Shibata accidentally boots Jericho off the apron. And he goes then to tag Hook, but as Hook is reaching for the tag, Jericho pulls Hook off down to the floor. And they start arguing because Jericho's just saying, listen to me. Listen to you saying what? What are you doing? And so Shibata gets a sleeper on Lee Moriarty, but Shane Taylor comes in. Supposedly the referee is distracted by the other guy, but she turns right around. It's Aubrey Ed, of course. Turns right around to see Shane Taylor hit him in the face with a fucking punch, and then Moriarty hits his finish 1, 2, 3. And the heels leave, but the Hook then yells at Jericho and tells him to fuck off and holds Shane, or not Shane, but Shibata's hand up in victory. What is going to come out of this? If Jericho turns heel on Hook or stabs him in the back or whatever the fuck in some kind of way, well, you can see it coming a mile away because Hook's already said, I'm going to keep an eye on you. And Jericho is already plainly talking about basking my greatness and I'm going to tell you all everything to do. But if it was some kind of swerve and Jericho is indeed the babyface and Hook's going to turn on him, well, Jericho's acting like a dick for no reason. And if they're really going to swerve us and neither one of them's going to turn, and what the fuck is the point of all of this? Are they just trying to make it so we see what's coming a mile away so we're interested? And I don't know what this logic is.
Do the fans seem interested in Chris Jericho right now?
No.
Not in any way.
No.
Yeah, not in any way.
I repeat, no.
I'm saying not in any way. So I don't think the fans are getting any interest in any of this.
But what are they trying to do here? I don't know what they're trying to do.
Sell pay-per-views.
Well, the newest multi-million-dollar acquisition was up next. Japanese Cody, Mr. Okada, was going to wrestle a job guy named Christina Applegate. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Christiana Argento. Did you see this?
I mean, it was relatively short. I did see it, yeah.
Well, but how does it help? This is your new star, one of them. Why would you get a job guy that not only was going to deliberately overact with his screaming, his aggressive screaming, not screaming like, oh, don't hurt me, but screaming like, ah, and at the same time throw the fakest, weakest, most horrible looking punches and kicks like he's never been in wrestling school. And that's what he would scream and throw a couple of fake blows that Okada wouldn't sell, but it wasn't like he was throwing something that Okada wasn't supposed to sell because he was tough. It looked like he was scared he was going to hurt Okada, so he erred on the side of fake. And then Okada would take over with shit that didn't look much better, and then the other guy would scream and throw a couple more fake blows, and then Okada hit a drop kick and a clothesline, 1, 2, 3. But in that 30 or 45 seconds, everything this fucking job guy did was not only exposing the business, but making it look cheap and fake in the worst way. Why would you allow your new top guy to interact with somebody that can't do any better than that? It just don't have the guy. Don't book the guy. Pay him and send him home.
So you're not against the idea of him having a match against a job guy. It's just this guy specifically.
No, this guy was fucking horrible. This guy made Okada look bad because from the very first time that he tried to lay hands on Okada, you could tell this was a fake bullshit match on a minor league show. Christiana Argento should have been fucking sent back to wrestling school without ever making national television. But I assume he's probably somebody's friend. But oh my God, it was bad fake movement and overacting silliness, like somebody won a contest to get to pretend to be a wrestler for one night. Anyway, then Okada does a charitably called a promo where Pac, I accept your challenge.
It was pretty good.
Well, it was like 8 words.
He spoke English perfectly fine. It was easy to understand.
For 8 words.
For 8 words, though. That's still
Well,
something.
And he's accepting Pac's challenge. Oh, joy. But then Pac came out in the entranceway. He's jacked to the gills. He's got a physique. And next to Pac, Okada looks like an anemic Japanese twink. He's got no definition, no muscular conformation and definition, as Gordon Soley would say. And here comes this fucking muscle guy out to kick his ass. But the Buckaroos come out and they jump on Pac and super kick him. And the fans start chanting, CM Punk, CM Punk. And then FTR hit the ring and shit can Okada and start to beat up the Bucks. But Okada comes in with a chair and whacks FTR. And then they started beating up FTR. And then the people were just standing there looking at it. Just what the fuck? Just
no heat. No heat whatsoever.
Of conversation.
I've never seen anything like that. No heat. The heels are beating down FTR and the fans are just standing there not giving a shit.
And they left them laying again. So we talked earlier about FTR getting laid flat of their face and left laying every time we see them. And now Pac joined them. At least they're not lonesome down there. And then Renee Moxley Good with Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm had a champagne toast where they were going to toast with champagne. I don't fucking know or care. They go for it. Tony Storm tosses the champagne in Thunder Rosa's face and gets on her, and they have a girl fight. And Tony Storm wiped off Thunder Rosa's makeup. And here came Deonna Purrazzo and saved Thunder Rosa from Tony Storm. But when Rosa got up, she saw Deonna there and shoved her like, what'd you do to me? And Deonna said, well, fuck you then. And they missed it with the bleep and walked off. So...
just a banner episode. Just in every way.
I'm telling you, the language is getting a little risque on wrestling again, Mom. Can I still watch? And then Mariah May wrestled Anna Jay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you were happy about it.
Anna Jay looked great in there. Shows a ton of potential.
Great in where?
In the ring.
Or up where? Which direction were you looking?
Now, the fans were very quiet. I was looking at the ring on the TV. Where do you think I was? Under the ring?
Well, boy, that would be a fucking different kind of angle. You could look at Anna Jay straight from underneath.
Well, there's a new production idea that AEW could steal. But it was a match that,
that occurred. And then some brand new Japanese girl ran in for the save when Anna Jay started beating up Mariah May and drank champagne with her. No, the other way around. Yeah, no, she saved Mariah May and then drank champagne with her and kissed her. But it was more like a sister kiss.
Again, they're really going all balls to the wall this week. Lesbian action here on AEW TV.
Well, no. To be lesbian action, there would have had to be, if you saw like fucking tongues coming out and lolling around each other like 2 anteaters in a goddamn struggle for supremacy, that might be hot lesbian action.
I didn't say hot.
Well, what we had here was a little sister kiss.
I've never seen this woman before, so I'm not familiar with her. Maybe she's really good, but that's the problem. She runs out to the ring, and I don't know what her name is, but Excalibur's like, this is from Stardom. What? What's Stardom? No one knows. And then she gets in there, the division's dead, the crowd doesn't react to anything. Apparently she's Mariah May's old partner from Stardom.
Well, I understand they had a long and very fruitful partnership where they team up on a variety of things.
Boy, this show.
So then, well, it's going to get better. Are you talking about the one we're doing or the one we're talking about?
Either way.
Either way, it's going to get better because up next was the king of personality, the artist of inflection, Officer Bar Brady interviewed Mercedes Mone.
Oh, boy. You know, this time you can call her that because she ended up moaning in the segment.
Exactly. And I thought this has to be a rib, because why would you put him with her? The two people in the company with the least emotion and life and realism in their voices, that are just reciting shit from memory. And Mercedes recited her scripted verbiage that I have to assume was written especially for her by Alexandra Pepperday. She's got her own writer, right? We forgot about that. So apparently her own writer has been writing all the shit she ain't been saying. I had girls in OVW that had never been on TV before that did better promos than this. So she finally kind of beat around the bush and told us that Willow not only beat her and injured her in some fashion, but it was in a non-interesting way. And then, folks, they're sitting there in a room doing a sit-down pre-tape, and the lights go out on a pre-tape. And then you hear sound effects in the dark, like, oh, boo, oh, don't hurt, oh. And the lights come back on, and there's nobody there except there's Mercedes Mone laying on the ground moaning. Oh. What the... Somebody got in and out of the fucking room, a concrete block room that they were in, with a giant fucking excuse for an announcer sitting next to this woman that got assaulted in the dark. And who the fuck could have done this? We didn't see anybody.
We're going to find out it was Marvez.
No. You heard what they said about Marvez, right?
No.
Well, fucking Marvez came in the locker room one time. He'd had a hot date. And he said, boy, I tell you, that girl last night, she told me to give her 12 inches and make it hurt. So I fucked her 3 times and punched her in the nose.
Well, again, I don't know if that joke is appropriate here, but we have to say this. Early stages, of course. But this Mercedes Moné signing does not seem like a positive for AEW. She has been exposed in a lot of ways. Again, it's early days, but it seems she's been exposed out of WWE. She can't talk. Everything has to be scripted, and she's acting, but she can't talk. Or act, apparently, from this segment. Not even going to get into the idea that apparently the House of Black can just turn out the lights anywhere they are. I can't speak either. Anyway, I can end this.
Anyway, now you can get to a point.
I'm going to get to a point. I'm going to get to 2 points. But she's been pretty awful and done nothing to help them in the ratings. And secondly, and I'll let you follow up on that, Shapoopy was in The Music Man, which I've never seen.
There you go. You've never seen The Music Man?
It's not really my style. It was sung by Buddy Hackett.
Oh, come on. Yeah, there you go. But you've never seen The Music Man at all. You don't know about all the trouble that's coming to River City. They're playing pool down there at that pool hall, the billiard parlor. Pool with a P, and that rhymes with T, and that stands for trouble. All that type of stuff. You got to watch The Music Man. Now people are going to be sending you The Music Man on DVD.
So Mercedes Moné, she's done some acting. She was a big star in WWE, obviously had a big fan base, although hasn't really shown anything in AEW in terms of moving that fan base over here under a different name.
They're over here now.
This segment was horrible.
Well, and that's, the big name girls in the business get a certain level of the, male fans that put their picture up as their Twitter picture and profile and, at Mercedes fan for life or whatever. And they don't even have to sometimes be the top main event girls. Sometimes it's just the girl that particular guy likes. And those are subsets of the fans, and they will follow a girl that from company to company because they like that girl. But apparently, as we've seen, that's not a big number, at least in Mercedes's case here. She left the WWE and did a number for New Japan, but let's face it, any increase for New Japan from what they were doing in America would be viewed as a positive. But now that she's on national TV, on a national cable network in prime time in America and expected to be a big deal, I don't know why anybody thought she was going to be. I was open to it because I'd never paid any attention to any of the shit she'd done before to remember it. If I have, but I was like, okay, I'll be open to it. But apparently other people remember what she's done before and still thought she was going to be good at this. And, it's part of being in the big company where they're not going to let you do stupid shit. Well, Vince would have everybody do stupid shit, but they're not going to let their talent in the WWE do stupid shit that makes them look goofy on their television unless they tell them to do it. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of goofy television, so the main event on Dynamite, and we'll get off this dead horse, and then we can beat it later on when the ratings come in, but it was the Eliminator match with Dustin and Samoa Joe. Joe had recovered. It had been an hour and a half. And they had a fight. At least these guys can work. It's not silly, but at this point, I was just tired of the show. Dustin got color. He's bleeding. Finally, he grabbed the title belt, and he was going to hit Joe, but the referee said, don't do that. So Dustin put the belt down and hit the crossroads and got a 2 count. And then Joe took back over and got Swerve's chain that he had stolen earlier. And the referee took it away. And then Joe hit Dustin with the title belt behind the referee's back in 1, 2, 3. They got the finish in by 10 o'clock. And a bit of the angle, because Joe put the sleeper on Dustin, Swerve hit the ring, grabbed his chain, hit Joe, and my DVR froze. But I assume they were nearing the end.
Yes, they were. And, I like Dustin, but this was sad because it was so quiet. The crowd was dead. Bad vibes on this show. No energy and bad vibes. That was AEW Dynamite.
Boom!
Well, boom. I'll tell you what, Jim. Now's the perfect time. We will travel quickly back and forth, although it'll take a little bit longer once the show's out. But in terms of how long it'll take us, very, very quickly, like that, we will travel. We're going to travel to the ratings future. Where hopefully the cleaning lady turns off the sink upstairs. We're going to travel to the future. That's really low. Ratings and more. The show will get better, ladies and gentlemen. Let's now go to the future. This one doesn't want to stop. All right. We are here in the future, and what a future it is. A future of TV ratings. TV is still a thing here in the future.
Ship poopy, ship poopy, ship poopy. You transported me back to the River City for the Music Man.
Back to Buddy Hackett. That's
ship
right.
Poopy.
Well.
Yeah, that's a deep subject, as Mama Cornette used to say.
There's no time like the present to get deep, Jim. Let's talk about ratings. AEW Dynamite, April 10th on TBS, 8 to 10 o'clock p.m.
With the stars, CM Punk.
With the stars, CM Punk. Well, the overall rating, on average, 819,000 viewers.
Huge.
That is the highest number since February 28th.
But they've all sucked since February 28th. So that's like being the, I'm sorry if I overuse this, nicest guy in prison, isn't it?
It is also the highest in the 18 to 49 key demo since January 17th. And it is 9% above last week and 6% above the trailing 4 weeks. That's for this big CM Punk reveal. So before we get to the quarterly breakdowns, almost like the Mercedes Mone debut and there was nothing. Does this number tell you anything?
Well, they were preaching to the choir to begin with because we couldn't even mention his name. So the only people that knew what they were going to see were the people who already knew what they were going to see, which is the same audience that has been watching this program, give or take, dribbles and drabs, dravas and drams, back and forth for months and months and months and months and months. So, and even that we'll see when we get to the quarters, whether just by insinuation that people actually tuned in to see CM Punk choke Jack Perry. But it's the same people. Punk's on a whole nother level now, like the kids say. And he's on a program where better than half of those people probably don't know that this incident was going on or happened. It's a whole nother world.
Well,
I'm sure the AEW fans are nostalgic for when they could turn the TV on and watch their show with the two biggest stars in wrestling that just weren't the biggest stars in wrestling while they were there.
That were chased away by Tony Khan. Let's never forget that. All the drama backstage, all the issues with the Bucks in their camp. Whoever started it, whoever's doing it, that's one thing. The person who allowed everything to fester. The person who allowed Cody to leave. The person who allowed all these things is Tony Khan. Tony Khan has put out a tweet, Jim.
Oh, no.
Just got the great news from TBS. Last night, Wednesday night Dynamite, up 29% from last week.
Wait, what?
And up 17% over the prior 6-week average.
Wait a minute, up 29%? How could that be possible? 30%, let's say, of 800,000 people would be a goddamn couple 100,000 people. Where's his numbers coming from?
Thank you all for watching AEW Wednesdays. See you at a stacked TBS wrestling show Wednesday in Indy and rampaging and colliding this weekend on TNT.
You didn't answer my question there, Burford.
Yeah, I don't know. Tony may have his own special stats, alternative stats. He's a statistician, isn't he? Didn't his dad give him money to open up a company so that he could do stats?
I don't know whether he's a statistician or a Presbyterian, but that doesn't have any bearing on this. How could it be up? You just said it was up 9% or something, or 7%, and he says 29%?
Let me go back to the number here. This is according to WrestleNomics.
An independent party in this whole saga.
This week's episode, again, 819,000 on average, and we'll do the real average later on.
Yeah.
Last week was 752, according to this. So that is a 9% increase.
Yeah, that kind of works out mathematically, doesn't it?
Tony says 29%. Well, it's up 30% in the key demo versus last week.
Oh, good Lord. Well, what about in nursery school? How are we doing in the nursery school students? Are we up or down in that fucking demographic also? All right, where'd they start?
Well, they started Q1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland's ramp angle, followed by Adam Copeland versus Penta El Zero Miedo, a picture-in-picture. 981,000 viewers.
So thank Sheldon, the Big Bangers have delivered them another almost 1 million people, and I see by the average it might trend downward. But where do we stand?
Yeah, and according to the trend line here, this is kind of, for the most part, remarkably in line with the 90-day trend, but Q2, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m., the continuation of Copeland versus Penta with picture-in-picture, 857,000 viewers.
Ouch! All right.
And it's also important to note that it was during this match that the clock went up to announce that the Young Bucks will be appearing, although I was later told that the time was wrong. So they had a ticker for when they would appear, and it was off.
Well, most of their tickers are off over there, but they lost 124,000 people on the strength of the biggest ex-WWE name that was on this program, and promising that they were going to have footage of something, but we don't know what, and we can't really say who's in it.
Right, and that was, of course, in Q3. 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the post-match of the previous match with Brody King, Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale, and that was it. And then the Lion Hook and Shibata backstage promo.
Shoo-poopy, shoo-poopy, shoo-poopy.
An ad break, and then the poopy continues. Mark Briscoe, Eddie Kingston, Copeland, Willow Nightingale, and Stokely Hathaway's backstage promos / angle.
They set up a mixed tag team match in that thing.
And then the Young Bucks serious backstage promo. A very serious Young Bucks today on the After School Special. And the All-In Security video. 880,000 viewers and 449 and 18-49 the key demo.
So they actually got 23,000 extra people based on appealing to the pool of people that knew what the fuck that they were going to see before they saw it because they couldn't tell them. And he still managed to, except for the opening salvo, the opening quarter, he drew what I assume is the highest quarter hour in the program.
And then it's back to his stars. 8:45 to 9 p.m. quarter 4. FTR's live promo, an ad break, a Bryan Danielson video, and Will Ospreay's ramp promo. 822,000 viewers.
Okay, so there went about 60,000, 58 if you want to be precise. It said, well, we've seen it now.
We then go to the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m. A Julia Hart video, and then Lion Hook and Shibata versus Shane Taylor Promotions with picture-in-picture ads. 767,000 viewers.
G. Manelli Shelley.
Jim Manelli Shelley?
G. Manelli
That's Dean
Shelley.
Malenko's nickname. Did you know that?
I did not. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, Jim Manelli Shelley.
So they lost on the back of Chris Jericho and his associated cohorts, 55,000 people at the top of the hour. And they are now down more than 214,000 from the start of the program.
We then go to quarter 7, 9:15.
No, it should be 6.
Is it?
We're at the top of the hour.
There's no overrun here, so I'm thrown off from what I'm usually looking at. Quarter 6.
Yeah, they accidentally ended on time this week.
9:15 and 9:30 p.m. The Dustin Rhodes backstage promo. The Okada versus Cristiano Argento, match.
Christina Applegate. She could have hit harder.
With the post-match with Pac, the Young Bucks, and FTR, the Bullet Club Gold backstage promo, an ad break, and then the Tony Storm Thunder Rosa Deonna Purrazzo ramp angle. 765,000 viewers.
Well, think about this now. They got not only the EVPs, but also one of the new $1 Million Men, Okada, and all of that, so they only lost 2,000 viewers in 15 minutes.
We call that progress. Quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The beautiful Anna Jay versus Mariah May with picture-in-picture ads.
Mariah May I?
The post-match with Mina Shirakawa and the Mercedes Mone backstage promo and acting seminar with Alex Marvez.
Hosted by Alexandra Pepperday.
759,000 viewers.
Well, so this high-priced acquisition only lost them 6,000 more viewers in the course of her contribution to the program. That's good to know.
And finally, Jim, quarter 8, no overrun this week. Thank God, because it's done nothing but hurt this company. An ad break, 9:45 to 10 p.m., an ad break. Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes with picture-in-picture, and the post-match with Swerve Strickland. 723,000 viewers.
So by the time their top guy their champion gets in the ring, and people probably figure that their top babyface, Swerve, will be involved in some fashion, they said, nah, we can't take any more. So that's another 36,000, bringing the total from start to finish to wait a minute, 258,000 people, which is over 25% of the audience that they started out with.
Minus Q1, Jim, which we know is the Big Bang Theory, 796,000 viewers is the average.
Well, maybe they ought to air more of the ring camera footage of normal people's subdivisions that have more action going on than what they have on their security cameras. Hey.
This is a company that continues to shoot themselves in the foot. Swerve Strickland and Samoa Joe opened and closed the show. There was no one there at the end. The audience had gone away by the end of it. That's for the World Heavyweight title. So they're not even sitting there for that stuff. They came to see what the Bucks were going to say, a little more than usual. And then when they saw it, everyone left the way they usually do.
Yeah.
The people that were in the building, when the Bucks and Okada...
they didn't have any choice. They locked the doors when they came in.
When the Bucks and Okada were getting their heat on FTR and Pac, they either sat there silently giving them no heat or chanted CM Punk. This is an amazing misfire, and the fact that Tony Khan and the Young Bucks didn't know better is stunning.
And from the point where the security camera video showed to the end of the program, they lost 157,000 people from there.
Well, don't worry, they're coming to Louisville soon, so I'm sure that'll be the week they pick things up.
Look at here, no. I keep hearing that. It's Highland Heights, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I have a tweet from Tony right here.
I think it's somewhere around Cincinnati. I don't recognize it around here. I've never heard of an arena in this goddamn place. I don't know where they're going, actually. And I live in the state.
Tony Khan has done another one of his promotional tweets a little earlier. What a week! BCC, Don Callis family. Danielson and Claudio versus Hobbs and Fletcher. Saturday, AEW Collision, Cincinnati, Louisville, Highland Heights.
Well, what the?
Claudio versus Will Ospreay, Wednesday, Dynamite, Indianapolis. Danielson versus Ospreay, Dynasty, Sunday, St. Louis. He is so bad at Twitter, and he thinks he's good at it. That's the other amazing thing.
What does he think, that Cincinnati and Louisville is like Minneapolis and St. Paul? It's 100 fucking miles from one to the other.
It's an emerging market. It's an emerging market.
It's the same distance as it is from Philadelphia to fucking New York. Is that like the same market?
Well, you know, the big Philadelphia, Long Island market.
It's easy. It's easier to get from Louisville to Cincinnati than it is up there, but it's, you know,
that'd be like booking a show in Trenton and saying, New York, Philadelphia, come on out. Well, those were the ratings. Another of the usual sad story. Jim, one last thing before we return to the past. O.J. Simpson passed away today. Cancer. Any thoughts on someone
now, you know, that's a lot of people's opinions, but not everybody. Some people thought he was a cancer, but not everybody.
Well, it was cancer that took his life.
So cannibalism.
Well, no, not cannibalism. Cancer.
Cancer killed O.J. Simpson. That's cannibalism.
Well, any thoughts on O.J. Simpson? Someone who was a major sports star, major celebrity, an actor, and then clearly murdered his wife.
Well, yes, and the Twitter people were hilarious when they showed his footage from the Naked Gun, one of the Naked Gun or Police Squad movies, whatever, where Leslie Nielsen and I think it was Priscilla Presley are greeting each other when OJ's in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
At the football stadium, and they lose track baseball, and they lose track of him, and he rolls down and flips onto the field. It was like Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson welcoming OJ to fucking hell or whatever. But yeah, you know, he got away with it for all that time, then ended up going to prison because he was so stupid he couldn't keep his nose clean a second time. But they didn't keep him long enough, and he got back out so that he could be free again. But fuck him. And he still owes me that $5,000 that he took off the top of my house in Knoxville because that was the night of the chase. I've told that story.
Yeah, he ruined the Knicks-Rockets game for me.
Yeah, so fuck him on a variety of levels.
That was a big day for New York sports, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of it, the middle of the Knick game, OJ started driving that car down the road, and of course, it affected Smoky Mountain Wrestling as well.
But see, and that's the thing, is that I am for the death penalty for a murderer who's convicted of murder when there is either video evidence or eyewitnesses that can point a finger. I know he did it. I saw him do it, or what. But anybody else? No, because shit like this happens one way or the other. He did it, but he got off, while other people get convicted and go to jail. And you hear 20 years later, they take the DNA out of their dick and spring them. Fuck that.
Remember, he wrote a book too called If I Did It.
Yes.
And the Goldmans sued him, and they got the rights to the book, and they released it. And the word "if" was very tiny, so it was just "I did it."
Yeah, I did it. But I mean, I'm hoping that somehow he leaves some kind of estate that they can attach and garnish or whatever and liquidate and fucking pay the Goldman family a little bit more, since now he won't be able to make any money because he's fucking dead. They should award the Goldmans his intellectual property.
What are you going to do with it, though? It's not like you're going to license OJ to a football video game or something.
O.J. Simpson dartboards, O.J. Simpson fucking toilet seat covers, or whatever the fuck.
You know, we've seen it happen to various celebrities, various things. Is, in your eyes, O.J. Simpson's fall from grace, is it the biggest fall from grace of a celebrity in your lifetime, or where does it rank?
Boy,
because like Michael Jackson kept having issues, but he never got arrested.
But also he never murdered anybody.
Right, he got arrested. He never got convicted, I should say.
Well, yeah, but even, I mean, still on the scale, who is a more famous person who committed out and out cold-blooded murder?
Beretta.
Robert Blake, and he only killed one person.
Who's more famous, Robert Blake or OJ? I'd say OJ.
OJ. Yeah. So I think he may have the award there. What is that crown called? The Continental Classic Murderer Award.
Yeah, I don't know. But do you remember, were you a part of, am I remembering wrong? Did Vince try to bring OJ in for something at one point? Were there talks about the idea of bringing OJ in?
Oh,
was that a Russo thing?
Yes, and some blather about it. And I don't know if he'd ever really done it or not, or maybe whether he was just winding people up talking about it out loud. I'm not talking about Shitstain. I'm talking about Vince McMahon. But Shitstain will swear that there was something to it. I can't remember which side of the fence that the Dodger is on. He may be on both sides, as a matter of fact, leaning over.
Well, there was a skit that never aired. Chris Rock, when he used to have the Chris Rock Show on HBO, I remember him talking about this. He wanted to book OJ, and they wouldn't allow him to, because he was going to make a comedy segment out of it, and probably wouldn't have worked well considering. Especially wouldn't have aged well. But it was going to be, OJ, we finally got you here. Thank you for agreeing to this. We're going to ask you the tough questions, and now we got to ask you the big one. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? And they would just get him to talk about football. Thankfully, it didn't air. Like I said, it probably wouldn't have aged so well. But O.J. Simpson, dead today as we are recording.
Dead, and we're loving it.
And with that, we shall return to the past. We are done in the future.
Wait, I've got to grip tightly.
Grip tightly? Hold on, as some others may say. Nope, can't be that one. There we go. Well, there it is, Jim, the fantastic AEW ratings. Another week of success for Tony Khan and the boys. Give yourselves a pat on the back or bonus yourself out, however it may be. Or maybe just get a good night's sleep.
Maybe just lay down and close your eyes and hope for a better tomorrow. We all need to do that, Brian. When we lay down at night, we need to be able to close our eyes and hope for a better tomorrow. And you can do that with our friends at Helix Sleep and all their mattresses, the fine products that they make. You can't do that with every mattress. Sometimes you don't know, Brian. You might be laying down on one of these store-bought mattresses, and I'll be a son of a bitch if there might not be fiberglass in it. Have you heard that other mattress companies using fiberglass as a flame retardant? There have been lawsuits over this. I'm sure that stuff's got to be sharp to sleep on, right? With Helix Sleep, it's good old-fashioned American sawdust. The finest from the finest woods of the pines of the forests in the Northwest.
No one's sleeping on a bed of sawdust, let alone from Helix Sleep. What are you talking about?
Sawdust, goose feathers, and a little suet from the underside of a pig to keep them together, so that that's what forms the bond and congeals. You've got pig suet, you've got duck feathers, and you've got good old-fashioned American sawdust. It's an amazing... Folks, I'll tell you what, from these humble beginnings, Helix Sleep...
No, that was not their beginnings. That was your beginnings.
They've created a dynasty. I'm telling you. No. They have... How many? There's so much copy, I can't even find it, but they've got like umpteen kind of models of mattresses. They got the big and tall sleepers. They got the kids' mattress. They got the one that'll cool you down. The one that'll heat you up. Yeah, boy, I tell you what, that one, you can roast marshmallows on it. I'll tell you, make some fucking s'mores.
Once again, let's jump in right now and just make sure we clarify to the listeners, there's no sawdust applied to any of these Helix mattresses. This is...
Oh, you're still on that.
These are the mattresses from Cornette's place. You're just talking about flammable or lighting fires or whatever.
The award-winning Luxe collection, short for luxurious, from the Helix lineup, well, they have only the finest fucking packing peanuts involved in their mattresses. And all this is American material, folks.
How do you know it's not short for deluxe?
Well, it's luxurious and deluxe. It's deluxurious. Lovely and delightful. And I'll tell you what, here's something else you need to know, folks.
Is that from the Music Man?
Yes, it is. It's delightful. It's wonderful. But again, as I mentioned, all these materials, now you can move up into the mattress designed for big and tall sleepers. Holy mackerel, it's filled with only the finest golf balls. You got to have something a little firmer in the middle for the big fat folks. But nevertheless, all these Helix Sleep mattresses, no matter what line they're in, they come with warranties, 10 to 15 years. They're going to last. They may outlast you. As a matter of fact, it's also legal in some states. If you die on a Helix Sleep mattress, they have to bury you on it.
That's no, let's not scare people with...
Well, that's just...
Some weird scare. I don't even know if you call it a scare tactic. I don't know what exactly you're using.
If you get a king-size mattress, just get an extra wide plot. You're going to need it. And they've got the 100-night free trial, so you can, if you live through 100 nights, you can decide then whether you want to keep it or not. And if you want to send it back, well, boy, if you want to be an asshole about it, go ahead. They'll give you your money back. That's how nice they are. That's why they were the #1 mattress picked by GQ magazine. Because GQ knows fashion and mattresses. And they don't contain fiberglass or asbestos or any type of roofing shingles. So once again, folks, right now, the Helix Elite Collection, 6 different mattress models. The Luxe collection, they've got the big stuff, the 10 or 15-year warranty, depending on the model, 100-night free trial. They got 12,000 5-star reviews. All of those from Uncle Dave Meltzer. He had plenty of time to try those mattresses out because he's never shared a mattress with anybody.
He doesn't sleep.
Well, he doesn't used to. He used to. Every once in a while, he would sleep, but now he doesn't. That's what led to the premature aging in his brain cells. But by supporting Helix, folks, you're also supporting various good people. You got the military, the first responders, the teachers, and the students. Well, if you're supporting the teachers and the students, you've got pretty much every side of that equation covered. All of those people get a special discount on the site. Now, folks, again, be honest. Don't try to tell them that you're a student of the College of Hard Knocks or some kind of bullshit like that, or you're in the army of Cucamonga. We want legitimate heroes here.
The Old Navy.
Yeah, you can't say you're a captain in the Old Navy. That won't work.
The Salvation Army.
But I thought they were really in the service. Are they not? Nevertheless, folks, right now, don't do anything else but what I'm telling you to do at this moment. And then do it some more. Go to helixsleep.com. That is helixsleep.com. helix.com, HELIX, sleep.com/JCE. Use the code HelixPartner20. They're offering up to 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. And the mattress comes to you in the box at your door. So do the pillows. As a matter of fact, they're not just hanging free, dragging the ground. They come in a box also. And you just open the box up and poof, the thing comes to life. So put it where you want it and just watch the magic. And you'll never want to lay down on another thing again until they finally lay you out and speak words over you. And even then, you might be able to take your Helix.
Or you may not, but you can take it to your home and have a good night's sleep with Helix. We like them here and you will like them there. What's that?
We like them everywhere.
What's that promo code again?
I'll tell you, El Kabong. It's helixsleep.com/JCE. Use the code HelixPartner20 for here, there, and everywhere.
Well, Jim, while on the topic of songs that were on Revolver, this has nothing to do with that. No transition.
What are you saying?
I was trying to find a transition. I failed. I'm lifting myself up right now and carrying on. Before we get to Raw, let's finish up with some AEW stuff. They've released their 2024 pay-per-view schedule. Here's what remains this year. April 21st, St. Louis, Missouri for Dynasty. May 26th, Las Vegas, Nevada for Double or Nothing. 1 month later, June 30th, Long Island, New York for Forbidden Door, which apparently has now been moved out of Arthur Ashe Stadium.
I was about to say that was supposed to be the big tennis stadium show up there.
Well, instead they're going to run Long Island. It's nice to see them run Long Island when there's not a Jewish holiday the same day for once. Sunday, August 25th, AEW returns to London, All in London, Wembley Stadium. Followed a week later by All Out Chicago.
Again a week later.
Sunday, September 1st, All Out Chicago. 1 month later, we're back in Tacoma, Washington for Wrestle Dream.
Oh, good Lord.
The annual tribute to Antonio Inoki and his dream.
But at Tacoma, Washington?
Well, it's on the West Coast, so you can try to get some Japanese wrestlers easy, I think.
Tacoma, Washington? So is fucking Butte, Montana's out that way also. Do you want to hold a big event in it?
Well, they'll be coming back here Saturday, November 23rd, Newark, New Jersey, for Full Gear. Full Gear, the Thanksgiving tradition that we all know and love. And finally, Saturday, December 28th, Orlando, Florida, World's End. That's what people usually call it when they spend too much time in Orlando. World's End.
It may be prophetic also, the naming of that by that point in time for this company. So basically, they've already done, what have they done, 1 or 2 this year? Has it just been the one in March?
World's End was last year.
That was technically last year because it was December 30th. So they've only done 1, but they're going to do 8. So they're up to 9. They started at 4. Now they're up to 9.
Did they only do 1?
January was the Royal Rumble, right? AEW did a pay-per-view in March. Did they do another one in between December and March that I'm forgetting?
Maybe you're right. Let's see. No, you're right. They only did March. They did December 30th, 2023, and then Revolution was in Greensboro, March 3rd. That was Sting's retirement.
Why do you ever question me? Anyway, the point is they're up to 9. Next year it'll be once a month. Are they going to that well too often? Because it's the same basic number of people that buy most of their pay-per-views. I know there's some that get this and some that get that or whatever the fuck, but are they trying to make up for lack of growth in any of the numbers by doing more for the same people? And are those people going to be able to afford it?
Here's another question. And unfortunately, there's the carrot hanging over that they can't improve. With Tony Khan at the top, things are never going to really get better. I always say it's only going to get worse. And we've seen that. But considering the house shows and what they look, the TV tapings and what they look like, and the state of the show, should they take 6 months and just work at Daly's place and get shit in order? Instead of going on the road, you work at Daly's place. You can make the room look okay even if there's no one there. We've seen it.
But then you're assuming that you can, when you said take 6 months and go to Daly's place and fix everything.
You can't
How you
improve
gonna fix
anything.
everything?
That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem. They're not learning on the fly. They're losing by the week. But let's get past AEW.
But otherwise than that, it's all doom and gloom and the world's coming to an end. But on a positive note.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what we say. When Tony's asked about it all, he'll say everything's great. He's happy to talk about everything. It's great. And then he'll just say he doesn't want to talk about the things that are inconvenient. But let's move on to the day after WrestleMania Night 2. Which I guess is the only way we can call it. Monday Night Raw, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the day after WrestleMania.
Boy, howdy. And because obviously we traveled through time a little while ago. We don't know yet what the ratings are as we speak now for AEW that we've already announced in this program, if that's not confusing enough. But we do know what some numbers are from the weekend. So this was the night after WrestleMania, April the 8th in Philly again. Friday night, SmackDown. Saturday night, WrestleMania. Sunday night, WrestleMania. Monday night, fucking Raw. They had NXT in the middle there, didn't they? Somewhere. They sold, and this is their number. Let's say they exaggerated a bit, but they say they sold 200,000 tickets. 205, I believe exactly. Last weekend in Philadelphia for these events. Did they exaggerate that by 30,000 people? Well, then they still sold goddamn 175,000 tickets in one weekend in the same city. What the? And they had 20,248 announced for this night, the 17th television sellout. And they had the small setup with the tiny screen because they had so many fucking people trying to get in. And the first thing they do is bring out Triple H. And it's the Triple H era. And the fans, thank you, Hunter. And he was like, hey, it's funny. I came out here to thank you. And the company, the evil empire, has become the benevolent fucking ruling class here. Now they're going to bestow upon us all of the great wrestling, and it's going to be fine and dead. They don't hate the WWE anymore because it's not a fucking asshole billionaire running it. It's a goddamn sympathetic former wrestler with a goddamn heart problem. And he announced that it was the biggest WrestleMania of all time by every metric and welcomed us to Raw. Welcome to a new era. And here's your new champion, Cody Rhodes. And boom, the entrance. And again, he's over. And he gets, you deserve it. And this was just going on. The people were just elated to be there. And even if you're sitting home in goddamn, Lincoln, Nebraska, and you didn't see WrestleMania and you didn't go to Philadelphia, you're still looking at this giant fucking NBA arena slam full of fucking people screaming, thank you and we love you and you deserve this, and we're batshit over what's going on. It's infectious. You think, well, shit, I shouldn't have been missing this. What the fuck? And Triple H congratulated Cody and then introduced a video that the studio had made for him. Would you share this with Cody? Yeah, well, I'll share it with everybody. I believe that was the plan. They didn't have these goddamn highly priced, highly paid and respected editors working on a home movie. And they made fun of having too many fans there in the building to get a Titantron in, so watch the monitors. And they did a video. Rise Up was the song. I forgot to write down who the artist was, never heard of. But the point, this was fucking art with this video, the editing of Cody at different points in his career and him and his family and him and his kid. And then they have a box where Cody is in near tears watching the video that they've made of him. on the screen. And I think you said earlier before we went on the air, Brian, it juxtaposed the fans in West Virginia watching a video on a screen of a guy from another fucking company and they're chanting for him. And meanwhile, these people, there's 20,000 of them in Philadelphia, and they're sitting there watching Cody watch a fucking video of him.
On the monitor from AV class.
Yeah. It's, but anyway, so that was a great deal. And then Cody and Triple H had the long hug with the whispering and the tears, and Cody kissed the belt in the ring and had Samantha announce him as the new champion again.
Well, did you see that? Because that went viral. Her reaction, and you could hear it on the, when you watch WrestleMania, she broke up. She got emotional.
He's the new champion.
I really like her. I know some people think she goes over the top, but I think it works. She's really good.
She's trying. I must admit that I couldn't find much wrong with it. She's trying. She's doing her best.
Well, apparently one of her things is she doesn't. I think someone said that she says she doesn't want to know what any of the finishes are, so she can react naturally.
Okay, well, that every once in a while they might better clue her in, and that may lead to issue at some point with some of these screwy finishes. But anyway, and Cody, he recapped his story from the last 2 years and brought the people in. Hey, I think the air is thin in Philly because we're standing on top of the mountain. And when he started talking about Roman, they booed. But when Cody said, I acknowledge him for what he's done, the fans chanted, thank you, Roman. And then Cody showed video of his daughter, as that's why he got into this, to go to work in the main event. And, it was a good babyface promo. And there's a Dusty-ish in that, and you feel one way in terms of, it was just so natural with Dusty, whereas you think that Cody's being Dusty in some of these things, but at the same time, he's ahead of everybody else. And then he goes home with it. I've always stood in the line, and now the line is for me. I went from undesirable to undeniable to undisputed. And then the Rock music plays. And you think, so we've had Triple H, we've had Cody, now we're getting the Rock. The first hour, by the way, commercial free, lady. They ain't taking any breaks in any of this. And here comes the Rock. And a big reaction, and the Rocky chants, and a long face-off. And then when Rock does try to speak, they boo, and then he milks more. And I mean, again, it's star power. These people are going batshit, but nothing's going on. And then finally, when the fans whatted him, he shut them down perfectly and then told him to shut the fuck up and got bleeped. And now and then the fans got bleeped there in a minute for chanting shut the fuck up. But now we've got Cody with the WWE belt, and we've got The Rock with the Mrs. Ali belt. And Rock does a heel promo. When I say I'm going to give Cody his flowers, and he puts him over in the backhanded heel way. But again, they were just taking their time, and they had these people in the palm of their hand. And then Rock says, that's a nice title belt you got there. I've had all of them, but I've never held that. Can I hold your belt just for a minute? And Cody says, well, if I can hold yours, ooh. So they own the room. They trade belts. And then, did you like it when The Rock said, well, a lot of people know The Rock has to go away for a little while now. That just tickled me. I don't know why that phrasing. It was like,
they call me with a goat.
Well, yeah, it was like, little Billy, I know that Daddy needs to go away for a little while now, but I'll always love you. And as soon as he said that, the crowd jumps in singing, sha-na-na-na, hey, 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 goodbye. But when The Rock comes back, Cody, he's coming for you. Cody says, I look forward to it. And The Rock says, well, Cody, you beat Roman Reigns, but I beat you. And your story with Roman is over, but our story has just begun. And Cody says, well, you're the boss. You're on the board. You're my boss. But I'm your champion. And then Rock said, you are my champion. And then now, and here's what we're going to be wondering. And this better not turn out like that goddamn envelope of pictures that Baby Doll had to show to Dusty. Nothing better happen that The Rock don't come back and fight Cody, because The Rock reaches in his pocket and shakes hands with Cody and palms something off to him. And he says, you don't even need to open your hand to know what this is. Don't you ever break my heart again if you smell what the final boss is cooking. That was a 45-minute segment with no breaks, and we're going to talk about the people that watched it in a minute. But what the fuck's going on with this goddamn foreign object that was passed back and forth?
And when did Cody break The Rock's heart the first time?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
By leaving WWE?
Well, I don't know if I can get away with that or not, but they don't say shit anymore that just blatantly doesn't make sense with their top main event guys. So what is this all about?
I don't know.
Well, goddamn, what am I paying you for?
How am I supposed to know? You don't even know what it is. What was the MacGuffin?
Well,
what did he give him?
That's what I'm asking you. You got to go find these things out. I can't stay in the dark forever.
Maybe it was a flash drive filled with porn.
It depends on who the porn was of as to whether his heart was broken. But anyway, this,
do you think this is all to build to WrestleMania next year? Knowing how slow everything develops with The Rock, especially if he's filming a movie or if he has anything to promote?
If he's shooting a movie that he's going to be gone for months, it would have to be either SummerSlam, WrestleMania, or a Saudi Arabia show. A Saudi Arabia show, and we're too close to SummerSlam at this point to get something like that off the ground, aren't we? So, it's going to be something big, but goddamn, I hope that everybody takes care of themselves, because I've got to find out what the fuck that he handed him. And that's what we want people to be to what's going on? Not in a confused way, but in a I want to know kind of way. But can we talk about the ratings now?
Sure.
Do you have that
it's
information
your show.
In front of it? No, it's not. It's your show. That's why I asked you.
That's right. So we're not going to talk ratings. How do you like that?
Well, no, but I still want you to do as I say and bask in the rarefied air of me.
Okay, then I guess we can talk
like
ratings.
Jericho, but we don't even usually do the ratings of Raw. It's usually 1.7 million, 1.8 million. They got up to a couple million and a lot of the WrestleMania run up, and there's been a 2.5 million or whatever the fuck that I remember was a Rock interview or the Punk thing. But, you know, SmackDown has been the highest rated show, and SmackDown's been averaging a couple million people. But all of a sudden, from the numbers that I saw, just this segment, the first 45 minutes of the program, holy jumping Jehoshaphat. Do you have those numbers in front of you?
I do have these numbers. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Monday Night Raw, April 8th on USA Network, 8 to 11 p.m. 2,362,000 viewers on average. It is the highest number since February 17th, 2020, and the highest in the key demo since September 30th, 2019.
But that doesn't even tell all the story, because it's a 2,362,000 average. What were the first three quarters, which were the 45 minutes that we just covered with Triple H, Rock, and Cody?
And the entire show was above the trend line in the entirety of the show. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15, 2.68 million. Quarter 2, 8:15 to 8:30, 2.95 million. And finally, 8:30 to 8:45, 3.19 million.
So they went from the start of the show at 2,680,000 people. By the time that promo segment was over with, 45 minutes later, they had picked up, let's say, 320, picked up over 500,000 people and landed 3 million, almost 200,000 people. To watch people stand in the ring and talk to each other.
And again, I say that it didn't go down as usual. It ended. The last three segments are 1.98, 1.84, and 1.87. So even more people.
That's usually what the first hour was doing here a while back.
Yeah, so people stuck with the show more than usual.
Well, speaking of sticking with this show, we're going to gloss over a few things, and then we're going to talk about another little meaty project they got going on. But what was your, without going into detail on what they did, they had an interview in the ring with the Judgment Day, Finn and Dominic and JD Funko, and they introduced Rhea so she could come out with her belt, and then they introduced Priest so he could come out with his new belt. Whereupon the fans chanted, "You deserve it," which I think they're starting to devalue that now. Does everybody deserve everything they get, even the heels?
Not everything is awesome.
It's a good rule of thumb that you can follow. But Priest came out, he looked great in a red suit of some description, kind of looked like Prince meets Liberace, and then they're holding their belts up, all rise for the Judgment Day, and Truth steps in with his belt. And they're back to doing comedy that he thinks he's a member of the group. And then here comes Miz. And they argue if Truth is in the Judgment Day. I'm thinking this is the first promo that their new World Heavyweight Champion has done, and they're doing it for comedy. And I kind of zoned out, and they got in a fight, and all of them dumped Miz and Truth out to the floor. But by the time they came back, they were having a 3-on-2 match, and Miz said, "We've got a partner, you just can't see him." But what the promo, why are they treating Priest like he still needs to be interacting with all these foolish children?
I don't know. This is their opportunity to do something different with him, and it didn't feel like he was really elevated that much, even though he had that belt this week.
Well, the thing is, the
timing with R-Truth was good, though. I'll give him that. When he popped up.
He does have nice timing. But they gave Priest the belt to further the angle between Punk and McIntyre. It's not necessarily to help Priest, but to further the angle between Punk and McIntyre, which was brilliant. But they could give Priest something at the same time, but just don't have him be stupid with these other people. But anyway, they had the 3-on-2 tag match with the other Judgment Dayers and Miz and Truth, and finally the babyfaces were getting shit kicked out of them, 3 against 2. When John Cena's music played, he came out, took a tag, made a comeback, and they did a triple 5-knuckle shuffle and a triple attitude adjustment and a triple pin 1, 2, 3. So Rhea's the women's champion. Damian Priest is one of the men's champions, and the other 3 are cannon fodder to be beaten, I guess, as necessary.
Yeah, I got nothing to add.
Indy wrestled Roxanne. I got nothing to add. Sami Zayn was in the ring. You don't have to put on the match at all. And I know you're going to find this hard to believe, Brian, but according to these fans, Sami deserves it too.
Of course he does.
And I fast forwarded to see if Gunther came out, and he didn't. Instead, it was Kaiser Wilhelm and Leonardo da Vinci. And then Gable ran out, and then they had a tag team match, and the babyfaces won. And Sami had the match won, but he tagged Chad in. And then later on in the back, apparently Chad wants a shot at the title. So now they're going to have it next week in Montreal with him and Sami.
It's a good place to have him turn on Sami.
Well, but yeah, this kind of Gable kind of is a half-assed babyface at this point. I thought, but if they just have it and Sami beats him, that's kind of flat. So he's going to have to stab him in the back in some way. That's a little, I don't know, whatever. Chelsea Green wanted a Mania moment, so she got Jade Cargill, 1 kick, finish, 1 tackle pancake, 1, 2, 3. That was that. And then we come to the number one contender match for the world title in a four-way quadruple threat match. And Drew comes out first and cuts the promo that he's pissed about WrestleMania. He was champion for 5 minutes and 46 seconds. I have a feeling that might be a new 316 shirt if we're not careful. And he said he respects what Seth did, but the bondage Undertaker screwed it up and cheapened everything. And he's coming back to get the belt. And the whole cause of this thing was that prick CM Punk, which he didn't get bleeped. And he cut a hell of a promo on Punk and what he did and what he wanted to do to Punk as a result of it. I'm loving Drew McIntyre. He's fucking great. And where did this promo come from? He could talk like that all that time and nobody ever let him.
Vince, that's the problem.
But anyway, so then they had the four-way match with Drew versus Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed versus Ricochet. Boy, howdy, talk about filling TV time. And after all the talk and the entrances and the bell rang, the fight started. Bronson Reed went to clothesline Jey Uso, over the top rope, and Uso ducked it and just jumped over the top rope on his own. Did you see that?
I did.
I don't know what the fuck now sloppy. Anyway, Ricochet dove on everybody and they went to the break in under a minute. So I just came back for the finish, which was Ricochet hit a big flip dive off the top rope onto Bronson Reed through the desk and wiped both of them out. Drew DDT'd Jey Uso and went back in the corner, was going to Claymore kick him. And as he stands up, he starts to run, and what the fuck? He looks down. Punk is holding his foot. And Uso comes over and hits the kick, hits a spear, hits a splash, 1, 2, 3, and beats Drew McIntyre again. So now not only has he been beaten again because of CM Punk, he's not the number one contender for the title that CM Punk fucking cost him. So this is great. I hope the fuck Punk can get back soon. I don't want him to lose momentum on this, but it's great he's going to give Drew McIntyre a nervous breakdown. So I like that. They started strong and they finished strong.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of the multi-man matches, but this one worked because of what happened. And Drew is on fire. Drew's become one of my favorite guys in the business. The promos, the attitude. Sometimes the matches don't deliver, but everything else does.
Yeah, and I mean, the match is good enough to get by because of you. Now you've got the personality and the sarcastic wit and the blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's not like he's just okay especially for a guy that size. He's a tremendous athlete, but you're not going to see, the Undertaker and Michaels level of matches, Flair and Steamboat or whatever, probably, but he's more than carrying his part of the bargain.
Well, that bargain was Monday Night Raw, and that was the end of it. CM Punk in the big angle at the end of the show here, and the big angle on AEW Dynamite, having a heck of a week, like Rick Rude appearing on Raw and Nitro at the same time.
Oh, and by the way, though, bringing up Raw, since now The Rock, Little Billy, has to go away for a little while, did you hear the reports of what The Rock got in exchange for his participation in the weekend's festivities up there in Philadelphia?
I saw something along the lines of $9 million in stock.
However many shares of stock that at the current time is worth $9 million The Rock got for his, and I guess that was probably for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He had to work 4 days. 4 long, hard days for that $9 million. I think you ought to commend somebody that's up for the grind like that. $9 million. Jesus H. Mary and Joseph.
Again, the reality that's setting in is that wrestlers are probably going to be paid closer to what they're really worth than ever before in the coming years. And this, as crazy as 9 million sounds.
Well, no, that's the thing.
It was worth it.
He generated it. Yeah.
And you're assuming, now you're saying it was 9 million for the 4 days. You're saying that this had nothing to do with the lead up, nothing to do with any of the promos or Raws or anything?
Well, who knows? They said that they had just transferred $9 million worth of stock to Dwayne Johnson. And the prevailing opinion from the people I saw commenting on it would be for what he got for WrestleMania. Well, okay, he had to do 3 or 4 more TVs, maybe. But he'd already got $30 million the last month or two when he was named, or back at the start of the year when he was named to the board. So he's $40 million up for the year just on his WWE interests. I'd take that schedule for that amount of money.
I think I would take that grind too, but there it is.
And you said that they're going to be paid more, and I believe that's true in that company. In the WWE, they're going to be paying because the UFC, they have and Hollywood, they have that background that you pay the stars what the stars need in order to be stars for you. It's still not as much as football and baseball. And remember, we talked about people maligning the UFC for not paying as much as other sports do to their athletes, but they've been paying what? Was it 2 or 3 times as much percentage of their gross to their fighters as the WWE was paying to the wrestlers? So, yeah, nice time to be a WWE superstar with actual real business people in charge of the money these days instead of Vince and his fucking picadillos.
Well, there it is. The Rock. The rich get richer. And what else? Do we want to do anything else today? We've done a very long Dynamite review. We did Raw.
Hey, do we get credit for the extra hour and a half we did on the experience this past week?
Oh, that is true. We did do a lot there.
I'm a little fucking confused, dazed and confused.
So what do we have to get caught up on so much stuff. We need a catch-up show. We have Dark Side of the Ring. I watched the Harley Race one as we are recording. I have not watched the Chris Colt one yet.
It's and a lot of people, and we're going to talk about those on the experience this weekend, but a lot of people are saying that the Chris Colt episode, because they had never heard the story and never even heard of Chris Colt, that it was one of the more intriguing episodes. I thought it was, and I knew the story, but I still thought it was interesting. But we got to catch up on Chris Colt and Harley Race on Dark Side. We've also got to talk about that Roman Reigns biography that Paul Heyman was heavily involved in.
Oh, did you get to watch it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And boy, did the lines are so blurred, it looks like I'm looking at an old fucking TV without my glasses on. And we've got all kinds of stuff. We need to catch up. And SmackDown, who knows? Steve Austin and goddamn Lou Thez may team up on SmackDown this Friday. You never know what's going to happen.
We still have to talk about Mid-South. We have to get caught up with Mid-South.
So we're going to catch everybody up on the experience this weekend now that some of the WrestleMania insanity has settled down a little bit, and we have, unless Tony and the rest of his trampoline cowboys have another stampede at the KO Corral, and then we'll have to cover that.
Well, that's right. And of course, if there's a stampede and you're there, you may need to sue.
Well, that's true. Oh, boo-boo-pa-choo.
With Stephen P. New.
If you need to, oh, boo-boo-pa-choo. That's what I said. You may need to sue. That may be true. And if you need to sue, boo-boo-pa-choo, call Stephen P. New. He's the man for you. Because what he do, nobody else can do. And that's sue for you.
That's right. Stephen P. New. 877-50-STEVE.
That's a great phone number. 877-50-STEVE. I think everybody should call it. You're not going to get a guy named McGarrett on the other end of the line. You're going to get Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com.
That's right. And you'll be hearing more of the more stuff on the next show. People are sending in songs, so we have new songs to play. But we just need a week to rest up and catch up.
We just need some fucking peace of mind.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Well, the peace of mind starts now. Until the experience, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!